Hassan Mod got banned for using the word cookie. Some are decrying this as unfair. Others are saying that any slur should be a bannable offense. Are slurs acceptable in any context? Based on the severity of the term, cookie being an example, what about ironic or comedic racism? Should we weigh terms based off historic context, or should we come up with with universal rules for conduct? And shout out to Counterpoints for coming up with this topic, right? Our duly departed Counterpoints. And shout out to Mad Lad for giving the first topic. I didn't give you credit, but I want to make sure everyone knows. But yeah, Counterpoints gave this topic. I actually don't know much about this situation in particular. Like Counterpoints was one who introduced me to that whole thing. So my understanding, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, is that Hassan's mods got banned by Twitch and not like Hassan taking that action. That's my understanding of the situation. And now it's a whole fucking thing. So we're gonna get your opinions on this. Keep it relatively short, your intros, please, so we can jump into the open. Start with Matt Latin.
So it's funny that this topic ended up being the second one, because like I literally on Twitter, like I created like this giant like infographic like comic talking about how little I cared about this topic. Like I actually am so not about, like, Hans and Stardust and Leftist Owl were all like having like these hot takes about this and arguing about it on Twitter, and I just don't think it's worth like arguing. If Twitch wants to ban whoever for whatever, it's their platform, it's their business, and I won't agree with all their decisions. However, if they chose to remove Homeboy for saying the wrong word, then they removed Homeboy for saying that word, and there's not much we can do about it. Are we going to argue about the nuance of using this word now? I guess that's what we're going to do. Have fun.
That's not really where the controversy stems from. It's
and we'll get to you and your statement. Let's go, Pam.
Yeah, obviously this is completely ridiculous. Cookie is not, no white person is offended by being called a cookie. And if they are, they've got extremely thin skin. It's not even remotely similar to other slurs. Now, there aren't many.
And would you say you're a smart cookie, by the way?
I would. I'm one of the good ones. I'm chocolate chip. But anyways, I do think that this is completely a non-issue. I don't think we should be trying to be offended by a new word. Yeah, it is. I guess you could, in a technical sense, it's racist, right? It's derogatory and it's against a particular race, but the impact of it's just so low. It doesn't make any sense to treat it the same way we treat other slurs. And I don't think that history is the important thing. I think the important thing is how a certain community takes the word. When it comes to the N-word, obviously that is taken very understandably very badly because of the history of that word. But I think the badness of the word really depends on how the community it's directed against takes that word, and I don't think any white people really give a shit about being called cookie. So I think it's a non-issue.
Okay, Fanatiq, I'm desperate to hear your opinion. Go ahead.
I think I have a really, really like simple take, and I don't think it's like that interesting, to be honest. I think in general, we obviously need to recognize that it's problematic to be using slurs. Obviously, Saltine is very clearly a slur. I don't know why we'd be even arguing against it. Now, if you wanted to argue about something like Karen and whether or not that's a slur, first off, we know that the denotation of slur is just any sort of derogatory innuendo or remark. Like those are slurs, but we obviously have a connotation like revolving around what a slur is that has a lot more meaning to it, right? Like we understand like why the N-word is not the same thing as calling a bad child naughty, even though naughty by definition, by denotation, is a slur, right? So in the same sense, like while yes, there's not going to be nearly as much harm done to white people because of like that word, that's because of the fact that white people have like historically been so much in so much more power. It's not because the word isn't like worth an intent or any of those things. It's just that the power surrounding it. Because I promise you, give it about 50 years when white people are no longer the majority, and then you'll start to see what the power of being the minority is and the power of the majority, and you'll start to see when people start really treating white people a lot differently. You'll see those things because we've all experienced it. Well, some of us have probably experienced where like you have a friend group and you got an odd person out and it's the white guy, and that white guy be catching hell, and then it's like, oh, we're being kind of racist to this dude. If the roles were reversed, it would be just as bad. So yeah, I think we should normalize that.
Damn.
Guys, Mad Lad, I'm curious what you came to on this.
Oh, yeah, I got it right. Oh, all right. I'll wait.
You can do it in the open. Yeah, my bad. But like, cookie is absolutely a slur by definition. There's, they're obviously not. It's not the same as a word that I can say that a lot of y'all can't say, but but it matters. And I'm here for respect, so I'm not gonna like. I think specifically the concept of addressing someone else with a slur, which I feel like is the context of this situation. It wasn't being used generally. It was being directed at someone. Like, is always disrespectful, and I'm not here for that. So, yeah, I don't know how people are going to try to, like, word logic their way out of this reality. That's it. But I still post that Soulja Boy meme on, and y'all know the one about them cookies. That's it.
I have no idea. Post it because I don't know. Scott.
Yeah, so I'm not offended by it. I don't care. I kind of agree with Problematic Pan here. I don't think most white people care. But then again, I'm so racially fucking ambiguous that I don't fucking even know what that means at this point. I'm just a fucking mutt anyways, so apparently I can't say any of the words. That being said, yeah, I don't care what fucking word you use. Like, I think there's kind of two arguments to be had here. Like, what can someone do with their community or their property, right? And the way that I feel about that is Hassan can ban, and the mods can ban whoever the fuck they want, right? Like, it's their space, it's their community, it's their rules. If they feel like they don't want that type of shit in there, then that's what they should do.
That was a Twitch ban.
Oh, Twitch ban. I'm sorry. Twitch, same difference. Twitch can have whatever terms of service it wants, right? I also think that there should be any form of competitor. And if people want to spam the N-word, let them do it. I don't care. You either believe in free speech and private property rights or you don't, right? Now, in terms of freedom of association, right? Who do you want to associate with? If you don't want to associate with certain types of people, then don't associate with those certain types of people. But the situation here of like whether or not the C word is an issue and like whether or not we should be doing that, I don't think it makes any sense, and I believe it's anti-free speech to censor any word and any slur. You already have a system set up where you can ban people from your chat, where you can time people out from your chat, where you can ban people from your Discord. You have all of the tools and resources to construct the community that you want. So the idea that Twitch needs to protect people from racial slurs is fucking stupid. It's just dumb. Like, let people freely associate in any way that they want. Let them use whatever fucking gamer words they want to use. And if you don't fucking like it, don't go to that Twitch channel. If that's the type of place that they have. Like, I just think the entire conversation is silly.
Thank you. Dooby.
So yeah, I think it's pretty clearly a racial slur. I don't think it matters whether or not Pan or Scott are offended by it, or anybody's offended by it. I think that this word, when it was being used by these people, was being used to demean other people for their race. That's the reality. So the history of the word doesn't matter. How whether or not it has like a social impact the same way that another word doesn't fucking matter. I could list off dozens of racial slurs. I know them all, right? That nobody gives a fuck about, right? Because they're just not used very often and nobody cares, right? But that's not what matters. When people were using this word specifically, they did it to demean somebody else because of their race, and I don't think that's okay. But I think it's interesting how this is kind of being joked about, because when what is his name? Ahmaud Arbery, when he died, there were memes going around with jogger, right? And they're like, oh, there's all these joggers here, yada yada, and they were using this word to replace the N-word. Right, so they're calling black people joggers, and this was the new N-word. It's a new thing they're going to say to get around the N-word ban. So we had to ban that word on the server too, because when they were using this word, right, they were doing it to call people the N-word. Really, they were using it as a racial slur, just like any word could be used as a racial slur. So I think it's pretty funny that Mad Lad currently has cookies floating in his background. Where I think that if Ahmaud Arbery, the case happened like last week, and people were currently using jogger to replace the N-word, and I had people jogging in my background, you'd probably tell me to shut it the fuck off because it's wrong. Right? I think it's really funny that you think you have a pass to joke about this way. Pan, I think it's wonderful that you're one of the good ones, that you want to be out here simping for racist people. That's wonderful, right? But I think we got to be consistent, right? Because it's clearly a racial slur. If you don't like racial slurs, don't say it. Simple as that.
So
sorry, we got to go on to new salsa. But Madland definitely has the J word pass as well. So let's go. Let's go to new salsa.
Yep. So I think more or less along the lines of Fanatiq and Dooby, it is 100% a racial slur. If people aren't offended by it today, I wouldn't be surprised as white people become less of a majority and into minority status. It's you're gonna hear it and it's gonna hurt. I think. And also, especially on the idea of Twitch has a lot of youth in it, and they don't have the same perception. I've seen people very upset over when Black Panther came out, over the term colonizer, even though that was really dumb for them to get upset about, or like not necessarily, right? I don't want to invalidate their feelings. But because of what was going on and the bullying that they're experiencing from that, they internalized that word and it became a slur for them for that period of time while that was popular in culture, right? So I think like the historical, like the relevance of the word is like look pretty nil, right? Doesn't really matter, just like how Dooby said with cookies, and same thing with joggers. I 100% agree with that, where like people would be very upset at the insensitivity of it all, right? Because at the end of the day, it's immutable characteristic of somebody. Why are you attacking them for their race? Like out of everything that you can attack somebody for, it's so fucking stupid. Like we need to be better than that. Don't do that shit. Get that shit off there.
Okay.
So in my experience, I don't see things like that as like a racial issue. I don't think about racial issues. I think of everything as a human issue, not like as like your race affects everything. I tried not to look at things that way. I know it does affect things in a lot of ways like that. I'm not saying it doesn't, so don't make that look fanatic. I know it does affect things. I'm not saying it doesn't. But I look at things more as like, why is this happening? Like, why is this a thing? Let's try to fix it as a collective whole instead of splitting us into different subcategories to try to figure out this issue. My other question is also, is that being banned? But Black people are allowed to say the N-word all the time to each other on Twitch, and that is not banned.
Well, this is
I understand this
quickly.
was used as a derogatory term when they said it, but why is that okay and then this isn't?
This is going to escalate very quickly. Go ahead.
You literally
Overpound.
just said it. Hold on. No, wait. You literally just said it. Like, I understand one's derogatory and the other one isn't.
Well,
but why
one
is it
was said in a derogatory way, but why, if we're just saying it, why is that going to get banned? Like,
Well,
if we can't even say it on this panel to say the correct word of what it is, why are other people allowed to use other words that are used in derogatory ways as well?
Well,
That's a pretty good point, actually.
I get it. No, it's not a good point, and it's only a good point if you're one of those people that chooses not to see race at all in any issue and only sees the human issue. Because clearly, when it comes to the N-word, the soft A was clearly used as something that was like a euphemism, something that was supposed to be uplifting and positive, right? And so because of that, it's not derogatory, and so by definition, it wouldn't be a slur. And so we have to look at the colloquial usage of the thing to determine whether or not it's a slur, because that word, saltine, might not be a slur in all of its usage. It's actually just a food thing that we eat. However, we can obviously look at the implications from the surrounding context to determine how a person is using it, and how someone is using it determines how harmful it can be and the reason why we would need to police such language, right?
Wait, but Fanatiq, I'm sure we
Can she
find
respond to
examples-
that? Because she seemed like she was not understanding it. I feel like that should help clarify that. Okay, does that make sense?
It does make sense if it was okay for any race to use the word.
No, wait, hold on. So you understand the obvious need that like specific in groups have like the ability to say specific things directed at their in group. For example, I can say your mama to my brother because he knows that I love my mom like he does. So he knows I don't mean anything negative about it. But if someone else says your mama, I don't know that he loves my mom in the same way. He might actually mean it derogatorily or nefariously, right? So when you have an in group, there's always the implication that you would assume that a person has a given love towards the in group, because we all obviously all like self-preservation is a thing, and so because of that you have a presumption that the person means it in a positive way that cannot be granted to people from outside of that in-group. That's why the N-word is specific. Does that make sense?
It sounds like a really long answer to the idea of just knowing that you're not consistent on your views.
Well,
No,
no,
that's
yeah,
not,
you're
that's
not
not true
making
at all.
no,
no.
it's
Everyone
crazy.
understands the
No,
implications.
so
Everybody
Kay
understands
was
the
just pointing out.
implications.
No, Kay was pointing out that not even like I would consider myself the in group for cookies, right? But I'm not allowed to say cookies either. I don't know if this is.
Yeah.
I don't know how strictly it's enforced, but I think that was her point more than the fact that.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't what
It's
she.
just an
Yeah,
in-group.
right.
That
I
is-
have an
that
answer for
is-
that. Okay, if that's your point, then it's also stupid, and I can break that one down too. Now that you're moving that goalpost, I know it's really simple because of the word N-word. Nigga was used colloquially.
Whoa.
I said it. Suck me.
Fuck.
It was used colloquially as something positive.
Gamer words. I'm gonna have to pull this down.
As it was used colloquially as something positive, meant to uplift, on a word that was incredibly derogatory, one of the most harmful, if not the single most harmful
Right,
word.
but if
in
I
the
say it
English-
in an uplifting
Hold
way
on,
to one of
hold on,
my black
hold on,
friends, is that
hold
wrong?
on. Hold on, I'm going to
Or
finish
to
my
one of my
explanation.
white friends?
Hold on,
for-
I'm going to finish my explanation and then you'll understand. So, in the same sense, you cannot provide me a counterexample of another word that was as derogatory, not even close, and you can't show me another word that was being used as a euphemism. But in the actually, there are specific cases of that. For example, the B word, right? We know that has always been a derogatory word used against women, but there are plenty of women that will call other women that word, like their best friend, like yes, B, and they will say that, right? And it's not meant to
I'm a
be anything
badass
negative.
bee.
Okay,
Like, I'll
right.
give
So
him-
then,
like,
so
do
in those
whatever.
cases, great. And I think that's good. That's another
Call me
perfect.
one. I don't care.
Great. So great.
If he's
so that's
told you to shut up, B word, you would know
Well, no,
there's
no.
a different implication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what that counts is it demonstrates yet another example in which an in-group has the ability to use a word as a euphemism, and once they reclaim that, then it stops having the same value as opposed to people in the out-group. That's why the N-word is different. If people decided to start using saltine in a positive way in order to uplift one another because they wanted to like disempower that word, they could choose to do so. And black people would probably need to abstain from using that word in such cases. And if that was something that was colloquially accepted, then it probably wouldn't have the sting and it wouldn't get so much ire. That's not the case, and that's why those things are different.
And it also wouldn't have
Thanks for
anything
coming to my
do.
TED Talks.
It also wouldn't have anything to do with like logical consistency because we all understand real life implications. If like she was talking and Fanatiq out of nowhere shut up the B word, like majority of people would be like, "Whoa, man, that's out of line." But you also like there's implications where you say your friends like, "Oh yeah, like my friend's he bitch made," and it's absolutely derogatory, but it's an in-group thing. There's implications that we all understand and we use in our everyday life, and pretend that those don't exist for the sake of some logical conversation. Like that, this is like a touch grass thing. You know the difference.
This is ridiculous, right? Because you're assuming here that you can tell which in-group somebody's part of just by looking at them, which is problematic, like right up front. Right, but specifically with the N-word, given that it has been normalized and it's been used colloquially by people of all skin colors, right, all across this country, right, there's no reason for you to assume that Kay isn't part of that in-group, that Scott isn't part of that in-group, that Pan's not part of that in-group. I'm not part of that. I am part of the in-group. I grew up using the fucking word. So did everybody in my fucking family. And I'm not black. I'm brown as fuck, right? So just to say that you should be able to police our use of that word because you're making this assumption that we're not part of your in group is really stupid.
Given that
that word, you'll admit, has been normalized and spread across society, and people use it all over the fucking place in the correct, polite, proper context, right? But I think what Kim was speaking to was the fact that even Pan or her. I'm gonna use Pan because he gave the I'm one of the good ones saying. Even one of the good ones here can't say the cookie word on the panel, even though it's not offensive to him. He doesn't consider it offensive to other people, all this kind of shit, right? But you have that word Fanatiq on your screen right now. It's not a problem for anybody.
So
If I
okay,
put that
wait. No, you can't shut up for a second. I just because our friend Bam has been having trouble with Bam, like you've been like roboting. So I'm gonna change the Discord server to US East. You're in Georgia, right? Correct. So I'm gonna change it so it might be closer.
No, the rest of us are going to do it. But look, here's the difference, right? Like, so first off, you're not part of the in-group. The in-group is typically going to be the subject of the word at hand. So in this case, the in-groups are going to be things that are associated with, like the N-word was something that was derogatory. And so because of that, it was derogatory specifically against black people. Huh?
You told me.
I'm sorry. No. I'm
hold
saying
on.
wait. You said when?
Fanatic.
Wait. Let me finish. You said when. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, God got you. Good. Thank you.
Yo, Fanatic yells more than Connor. I didn't know that was possible.
I only yell when niggas don't shut up. I only yell when niggas don't shut up and let me finish.
Oh my God!
So the idea is that the N-word is still used derogatorily about black people. It is still considered something offensive in 2021. So that usage is still problematic right now. And that's where the problem comes into play. You're not part of the in-group because what that word has always meant, still in 2021, till its inception, both the euphemism and its derogatory meaning, it has always been a reference specifically to black people. So the N-word was used negatively towards black people, and then nigga, soft A, was also used towards black people. So because of that, you can't ever be part of that in-group because you're not black.
Okay, so
you just said it on this panel towards people who weren't shutting up.
What's your solution? Right? What is it that you want to do to fix this issue of conflict and who can and can't say it, right? Because you're putting in a lot of different experiences that are honestly can be subjectively defined by those that may or may not be offended, right? Because like you can say all that about in-groups and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure if a Nigerian came in here and was screaming it with the hard R at you, you'd be hurt. Right? Like, despite the fact that
you're wrong. So their assumption is wrong, right? Because there has been.
But other people would be offended. Other people would be really mad at it, right?
I don't think that the average black person is offended and looking at like someone's place of origin. Someone's country of origin. I'm saying as a black person that uses the word. I'm saying I don't care about how. You can say it all. You can say that all you want to. What I'm saying is, and I know it to be true. I don't have to prove anything to you. What I do know is that the average black person is not checking for someone's origin to determine whether or not somebody can say the N-word. Someone's national origin. For the average black person, we are looking and we see black people. For the average black person, we are looking and we see black people, and we give black people the past. That is how the average person looks at it. And Dooby, when I'm talking about what I'm talking about is not just my. Are you just gonna filibuster? What I'm talking about is not just my personal experience. What I would be talking about, or what we can all see, are witnessed experiences in which you know just as well as I know.
Yeah,
you wouldn't feel
Scott.
Absolutely. I don't talk that long if you were just shut the hell up. You know just as well as I know that if the average white person went into a random black neighborhood, you would not feel comfortable, regardless of whatever passes you feel you've gotten, you would not feel comfortable using that word with black people you don't know. So in the same sense, I think we can all recognize that we all collectively have a problem with people outside of our race using that word. I've never heard a black person check another black person for using that word if they generally have no problem with black people using it. It's always going to be specifically on racial lines.
Okay, so first of all,
I don't know y'all.
No, it's about perspective.
I gotta let some other people. Don't worry. We'll have time.
I literally just got finished getting yelled at on all these things and didn't even get to. I asked one
he literally
question
said
and then
like
he
a
kirked
line
out on
and
me.
then got screamed at.
Okay, fine.
After Fanatiq said.
Okay, all right, Scott.
Okay.
Scott.
Like.
He did, Kay. Yeah, we can rewatch it. He interrupted me.
So, relax. All right. So first of all, we all know that's bullshit. We know for a fact that there are plenty of black people that are offended by first-generation immigrants from Africa that are racist as fuck to American blacks. And the idea that you're pretending like that's not a thing so that you can try and be consistent on your idea, which we already know has tons of subjectivity caked into it, is a fucking bullshit cope, and you know it. And to pretend like that's not going on and to just try and filibuster over that idea because you want to pretend like that's not a fucking thing is just, it's just fucking lies. Second of all, you can actually be consistent on something that doesn't have a ton of fucking issues, which is the second part I wanted to make, that doesn't have a ton of fucking issues, right, with subjectivity, which is freedom of association. You can simply say, I'm not going to be violent, I'm not going to ban things, I'm going to police my own community, my own group, my own stream, right, in the way that I feel as the owner of this situation, and then you can ignore what everyone else does.
I'm
idea
gonna
that
go,
there's, like,
I'm gonna go nuclear.
You need to be
Like,
consistent, and you're not being consistent.
yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and go nuclear from like right this point. I'm making a take. I defend it like through any logical means, but I'm applying this to Fabian and Problematic Pat. I think yes, you too. I think realistically, what this is about, or what this issue is about, is deep down, you've always been kind of pissed that you couldn't say the N-word. And you think that people are unironically, like, you're upset at black people's inconsistency.
Hey, you want to know what?
So,
you want to know
wait,
what, Bam?
wait, no,
Real
let me
quick,
finish.
you wanna know what?
I agree, it's nuclear. I can't defend this. I'm just telling
Hey,
you what
hey,
I feel. I'm putting it out there.
you
Let me just get it out
wanna know
there.
what?
No, wait.
So you're not gonna let him finish? You're not gonna let him finish?
Bam.
Yeah, let me finish. And you, whenever this conversation came up, this was an opportunity for you to go dig deep down and say, like, I would be better than them. I wouldn't have a problem with this word at all. I would be logically consistent. I'm not offended by Cookie. This doesn't affect me at all. The black people should be more like me and be more logically consistent. Again, I can't defend any of this, but this is what I deep down believe, and I don't think you'll be able to convince me of otherwise.
I got one for you real quick. I can convince you real quick.
Wrong to be called, not want to be called the N-word, though. Like,
I don't
Cracker
care about
doesn't have the same weight as the N-word, right? Like, I do understand why black people are offended by the N-word, because it's offensive. I don't understand why white people are offended by the C-word, because it's not offensive, and basically there's no history behind it. No one takes offense to it. So the fact, yes, it is by definition a slur, right? It's racial and derogatory. However, no one gets hurt by it. It's not a problematic slur. Let's just call it like that, right? I don't think it's a slur, but I don't think it's problematic because no one gets offended by it. Now, if in the future white people do start getting offended by it, like a good portion, like let's say the average white person gets offended by Cracker,
they do. Bam.
Okay.
Wait.
There is people that
no, real
do.
quick.
That was always our retort when people would say that word. So people,
No, real
get
quick,
offended
Bam.
by it.
I went nuclear.
Real-
Fabian can respond. I
real
went
quick.
nuclear. I did it.
Yeah. Real quick. Who's ready to cancel me? You guys all ready to cancel me?
Are you gonna
I've
say it?
dated plenty of black women that are into race play, and I've said it plenty of times. And I'm not fucking offended that I can't say it to random people on the fucking street without them wanting to get violent at me. It pisses them off, so I don't say it. I don't have any issue with the word. I think the entire idea that you're mad about a word is fucking stupid. There you go.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, nobody cares about your feelings or your lies you're making up about black women wanting some race play. I get your disgusting.
No, that's a real thing.
I get your disgusting fetish. I get it, but I know that I believe that you're lying 100%. Now, you want to talk about a liar and try to invalidate my experience when we have God knows how many media representation of examples of people that all feel this way, right? We all remember that Kendrick Lamar incident where all of a sudden that white girl was saying that word and it started having those problems. Or we can look at God knows how many different videos where somebody says the N-word and niggas respond rather violently. We have obviously that case, I can't remember the type that type of that tea where that nigga had it in the can and that white boy was saying N-word to that one black dude until that nigga like busted that can over his head. We all know that this is a norm. We all know that this is not a completely unfounded or uncommon occurrence. So you can try your best to distance reality from this situation, but we all know that's a word that most black people feel this way. We all know that. My argument.
How is that logically
my argument is that my argument. I got you. Then tell him to stop interrupting. When you keep that same energy at that nigga for interrupting me, then I'm gonna actually listen to you. Until then, you shut the hell up too. When you keep what I'm pointing out, I know what I'm pointing out is what I'm pointing out. Thank you. What I'm pointing out, it didn't take me long if these niggas would shut the hell up. What I'm pointing out is that we do have examples that we can all point to that are not based on me or my personal experience, where we all can detail that there is a common experience in which people have a specific reaction towards this word. So it's not something that I'm just making up. I know that you wouldn't feel comfortable saying that word. You just reaffirmed it by saying yourself, I wouldn't say it around random black people because it pisses them off. So I know that you know that this is a word that only black people have a feeling that other black people can use. Freak out of here. Stop trying to like gaslight.
Okay.
Your racism isn't consistent.
Okay. All right, we gotta
like just because
some
you're a
other people.
racist doesn't mean that like it's a good
Salsa.
argument.
I think you had your hand up. I'm not sure if you did. New Salsa. If not, then we go to Dooby.
You go ahead, Dooby.
Okay, Dooby.
So quick side point. It's actually pretty common for Black women to have that kind of fetish. Black men have it sometimes too. And actually, interestingly enough, Israel, if you want to point to another example, something similar happening, had a problem with Nazi porn until they banned it because it was a very popular porn category in their country. This is a thing that happens. It's life is weird. Secondly, Fanatiq, I think it's weird that you keep telling us that we don't have the past, we're not part of your own group, yada, 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 right? But you keep using that word, nigga, to refer to all of us on this panel, right? Regardless of our race. You've called Scott that a few times. You've called Kay that a few times. You said, oh, these niggas keep interrupting me. Why can't we say it if you can use it toward us in a derogatory manner?
Waiting for the
All right.
screaming.
It's real simple.
Unlocked.
It's really simple. So Dooby's muted. I'm not interacting with him anymore because he's intentionally doing something that's incredibly derogatory. And Prime, you can literally, you can Prime, you can literally get banned for that. You obviously know that that's a problem. That's a violation of TOS. You completely reacted insanely when Prime's legendary actually used raccoon. So I think the fact that we're going to go ahead and the fact that we're going to show some sort of double standard in this way is crazy telling to me. But in any case, what I'm saying is, and what we all agree on, is that we know that Black people do not feel comfortable with other people saying that word. I don't know why it's that hard. If you have such a past and you're able to use it with so many, if you have such a past and you're able to use it with so many Black women, I don't know why you're on this panel pissing and moaning about the fact that like these words are obviously rejected if around Black men. I don't get that. Like if you
it's really simple.
Okay,
I'm an
pause,
anarchist.
Everyone pause
for
free speech. Everyone pause for a fucking second. Okay. Dooby, right? Dooby, just so everyone knows, right, is actually not white. Just make that clear. Dooby is not white. No one's actually seen Dooby's face on YouTube or Twitch, right? No one's seen his face. I know what Dooby looks like. Dooby is not white. So, right? Dooby is Black adjacent, but not quite Black. So, Dooby, knock it the fuck off. Thank you. Thank you.
That would be the New York rules.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Moving on. You can
White
continue.
adjacent. Can I say the C word?
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
well,
no!
I feel like the point. I do think. While the discussion was a little bit heated, I do think the point was that there are contexts in which even a white person and with a Black person can say the N-word. Obviously, you would never do that with someone who you don't know because the presumption, right, is that it would be offensive to them. Like, you don't know. You could be, like, I wouldn't say it in public, right? But there could be a African-American out there who actually does want me to say it. Now, that's not a good enough reason to do it because most, like 99%, would get offended completely justifiably, right? It's the perception that matters, right? What you're doing to try to, like, hurt somebody is what matters in my opinion, right? Because, like, in a context where in Fabian's context, I don't think it matters if it was both consensual and both people wanted it. In the context of some random person, obviously the presumption, if you're being reasonable, is going to be that this will offend them, and you have, like, I would say, at least a social duty not to try to offend people by calling them slurs.
Don't call yourself a libertarian if you're anti.
What? I didn't say you shouldn't be able to do it. I said you shouldn't do it, right? I don't think it's inconsistent to say that someone should be legally allowed to
this is such an online, bro. This is such an online white people argument because you can argue all about free speech all you want to, but you have a right to say whatever the freak you want to, but you have a right to deal with the consequences, and you would get served for doing so. You just feel comfortable having this conversation because you're on the internet, bro.
Try not to place veiled threats in there.
That's not a veiled threat, my nigga. Listen to me. I am never passive aggressive. I am aggressive. I can't say never, right? Because sometimes I'll be intentionally, but I'm pretty aggressive. I'm aggressive. If I wanted to threaten you, I would do so. That's not me doing a veiled threat, nigga. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you live. I'm just simply pointing out that you know just as well as I do that this is an online internet conversation, because I know that if you were in Black people's spaces, you would just kindly shut the hell up and not even be worried about saying the word. You'd be more worried about, like, just not offending people. Freak out of here.
I'm not worried about offending people. I'm worried about people getting super fucking pissed off about it and me possibly facing violent action. Right? I don't give a fuck about your feelings.
Pissed off, that's not offending people? Yeah. So being pissed off is not offending people?
I mean, if
What, are you
they're
parsing
literally-
words
like,
here?
if I didn't have any threats of violence by walking around saying that word, right?
Hey, let the
I might
adults talk,
fucking say
bro.
it.
Let
I
the
wouldn't.
adults
If
talk.
I mean, I'm worried here
Everything
because of TOS as
Yeah,
well. You know what I mean?
TOS.
Like, what are you talking about? The fact of the matter is that you seem to think that historical context and then subjectivity of who is and isn't within an in-group, right, allows the usage of the word and doesn't allow the usage of the word. But the problem is that offense is a subjective experience. Some people are offended and some people aren't offended, right? So the only answer here, in order to be morally consistent, is that you believe that people are able to police their communities, their websites as they wish, right? And that is how that has to be handled. So you have to believe that it's okay. Like this idea that slurs are different and why you're going to argue on different things, it's not consistent with your own views. You're just saying, oh, the N-word is different, and then here's why it's different. But the problem is that there's so much subjectivity baked into your answer that it makes it impossible to like meaningfully fucking police, especially when you're talking about the internet. You just need to have freedom of association.
Okay.
But black people didn't say it was
I want
crazy.
to hear from Kay, right? And you said
Salsa
Bam.
had his hand up before me.
Oh, I didn't. I Salsa. I didn't see your hand up. I apologize. So Salsa, Kay, Bam, and then we can go back to Fanatiq. Don't worry, you'll have more chances to respond. Salsa.
Thank you, Kay. I do, to like bridge the gap, I do feel there is some legitimacy to saying like, hey, some of these words are like offensive to others or whatever, or like it's all subjective, right? Where it's like you can't ban like a word like throughout. It's really difficult to do that in the context. As far as what like Twitch should do, I think like honestly, I think they just have to bite the bullet to be like a little bit more fair in their implementation, right? Where if they say, if somebody is using the soft A, right, in this context, and they're using it in an appropriate manner, and they're not being derogatory towards other people, then it's fine. Irrelevant of race, hopefully, in my opinion, right, I hope that the community would then appropriately judge and, you know, not support this person if they feel they're not in the in crowd, right? And with that being said, I 100% hope that you would not give that to like a black dude, 100%, right? Give them the ability to just lambaste and use the N-word in a very like derogatory term towards whoever the hell they want. I would hope that Twitch would ban in that case and start influencing that, right? And I think that is the way that the cookie word, right, should be 100% implemented, as well as like any other slur, right? It's like in context where we're having a nice conversation here, and we're all being nuanced about it and appropriate in context. Yeah, any word should be good. Just because it's stupid that we have to replace cookie for a different word, right? We know what the word we're replacing it with. Same thing with like N-word for the actual word that it actually is, right? But it's like in actual practice, the way like we need to do our best to remove all sorts of types of hate from this platform. And I feel that is a way that people can convey that hate. And there's no need to do that irrelevant of your color, irrelevant of your word, irrelevant of the race.
Would you say the same thing about terms that aren't racially, like if I call someone a motherfucker, that's okay on this platform? My guess is that people would get much more offended and hurt by me calling them a motherfucker in a heated context where like I am trying to use it derogatorily than using the cookie.
Don't
word
get rid of the
against someone
face reveal.
derogatorily.
If we had to create
So, like-
a line, it's 100% at the immutable characteristics. You're not never going to change
Right,
the
but
green way.
why should we create that line there then, is what I'm saying, because it seems pretty obvious to me that calling someone a motherfucker or like stuff like that is so much more derogatory than calling someone a cookie. Why are we basing it off of the mutable characteristic instead of how like, you know, generally offensive a term is considered? Like,
Because I think we would have to draw a line somewhere, right? If we're going to do this implementation, because at least I hope you're not like going for like full blown, everybody can just call everybody the hard R that they all want. You're not doing that, right? Are you on that train or no?
no, I'm not on that.
It's just me.
All right, so
Yeah, I
right,
think
so
that's just
you
him.
right. So I
think
get that.
I
Right.
don't want to be in a platform where people are randomly calling each other the N-word. I think
No,
that
I understand that, but you're also saying that Twitch should not allow that to happen. Period. Or at hard R, hard R, derogatory term, calling
Probably,
each
yeah.
other. Yeah.
I
right?
mean,
So
like,
if
yeah, I wouldn't use the platform. I think they should be allowed to if they wanted to, but I wouldn't want to be on that platform.
so you are on the same side as him. Let's go.
No, I don't want to be on that platform.
No,
right?
okay, I get that you
You're
don't
currently on
personally
the
want to be on
platform.
the platform. I'm asking
No,
you what
no,
should
we're on-
Twitch do as far as the implementation as how they should ban this and handle this person. I
Oh yeah,
understand that
well,
you
it's
have
up
your
to them, and
individual-
I would imagine that their platform would suffer if they
What should they
let people
do?
say the no.
I
because their
understand
platform
why
would
these
suffer.
words are
Their
banned. I'm asking
platform
what
would
should they
suffer.
do?
They should ban it because their platform would suffer.
Okay, right, and the only reason
should be able
the
to do
platform
whatever
should
the hell
suffer.
they want.
Yeah, like they should ban it because it would hurt them.
So
and no one should be able to
do.
use the N-word.
You don't feel like we should protect certain like types of people or certain types of people. Like we should like try to. We shouldn't. It doesn't matter to foster a better environment for like the sake of fostering a better environment for like doing better for people. Right? Is that a good explanation?
No,
So,
I'm okay with that. Like
I don't. I
I
like.
want you. Okay, if there's any confusion, I'm not sure what's confusing here. I think it's good that the people in general want to be in a more positive environment, and I do think that people. The reason people don't, and because people want to be in a more positive environment, it's beneficial for Twitch to create a more positive environment where people aren't randomly throwing out the N-word. So I think it's good that they're doing that, and it's good because no one wants to be on a platform where people are randomly calling each other the N-word. So I think it's good that they ban it. I'm not sure what this has to do with
I understand the monetary reason behind it and like the reason why Twitch is going to ban it, right? I get that, right? I'm in agreement there. What I'm asking, right, or what I was asking, is whether or not you think Twitch ought to do this to like foster a better environment, to get hate potentially off this platform. If they should just do it irrelevant of the monetary motivations.
Sure, if they want to, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
I guess I understand like Twitch has the ability to do this thing as a private organization.
Yeah,
they can make any decisions. That's not what I am asking. I am asking you specifically, what do you feel Twitch should be doing outside of the monetary consideration?
I would like Twitch to ban the N-word. Again, as I said, I would like Twitch to ban the N-word because I prefer a platform where the N-word isn't in use. Is that sufficient?
Completely, no matter who's using it, no
that
matter
makes
how
sense.
it's
Like,
used.
All right, so we're gonna.
I'm okay with like if some African Americans want to say it, like I'm not going to try to take that away. But like I don't think anyone should be using it derogatorily.
Okay. So we'll go to Kay, who's been waiting patiently. Bam, I think you were next, right? And then Dooby, you gonna chill? You gonna chill? You gonna chill?
I'm always chill. Friend.
Yeah. All right. Knock it the fuck off. Thanks. Great. Kay, please. Thank you.
All right. So that is exactly where my question goes to. If Pan says it's okay for it to be used in a certain way, certain manner by whoever, by a certain race, whatever, why is it not okay for somebody to make a statement using the word not in a derogatory way at all, no matter what their race is, not okay?
I just love that Dooby proved me.
Was that directed at?
That like Fanatiq is upset because he's a color, BIPOC adjacent, right? And he basically just proved my entire point, right? That subject.
He literally said it as a statement.
Because other people wouldn't be mad, right?
With
And
nothing.
some people are, and this is the problem with policing language.
Well, they said it in
many
a
problems with policing language.
Just in general.
Gosh, you got to be a
Dooby said the
huge brainlet to say
exact
that this
thing.
is proving your point. Because my entire intention this entire time, like what I've said, I've had a position. You guys know the position, and Dooby intentionally wanted to violate the position because he just felt like he could. That's why I muted him. It's okay. Like I don't care. I didn't mute him because he's like adjacent to blackness. That's never been any part of my argument whatsoever in any capacity.
Come on, step up.
Nigga, you telling me to step up when you're making up like literal race play fantasies in order to try to prove your ridiculous unfounded point. Freak out of here, nigga. If anybody needs to step up, you're literally an anarcho-capitalist. Freak out of here.
Okay.
Who needs to step up?
Okay. K. The one K. Just the one K.
I love the hate.
Go ahead. Miss K,
Fanatiq
please.
is saying it towards Babylon, and that's perfectly fine. But the second Dooby said it in a statement, not using it derogatory, not using it towards anyone, just a statement, all of a sudden everyone went hands up, freaking out. Why is that a thing?
Because
as I explained earlier to you, Kay, which I get it. Sometimes like it's a panel and so a bunch of people have said a bunch of stupid stuff, so it's probably caused you to forget. The reason why we would all be up in arms over this is because there is an expected usage that the only people that would be using this word are people from the in-group. Dooby is not from the in-group. So since Dooby's not from the in-group, people from the in-group are actually going to be offended that a person outside of the in-group is using the word.
Just as a statement, not repeating exactly what you said.
Using the word. I'm sorry. I don't know if you needed more specificity. I thought I was really careful with my word, but I'll say it one more time. Using the word.
I just don't.
Yeah, to be clear, I grew up in
You
East
don't
LA
get it, but
using
you
the
don't
word my
have to.
entire
Just
fucking
comply.
life. So suddenly I'm not in the
Dooby,
in-group.
use it there then,
That's wonderful.
If you
Like,
go back
just
home and you're
avoiding-
with your childhood friends, that's fine. But like obviously,
The fuck? Okay, I want to
Fanatic,
be
you're
very
just-
clear.
you
I want to be
like
very,
arguments
I want to be very, very, very
aren't
clear
being
about something.
presented at
Really
all.
quickly, if you guys look at, I want to direct your attention
And
to
then
the
just
chat.
saying they're idiots.
So I actually do.
I don't know what argument
I
I'm
actually
pretending
do
is
have a.
being
I actually
presented.
do have a pass.
Which one?
Prime
I don't
didn't
understand what
respect
you're
the
saying.
pass.
Which
We're
argument?
taking it up with the council later. We're going to talk about it.
Okay, look.
Okay.
All right. The reason I freaked out, just for the a record, right, is because I got a channel and I got to work under Twitch TOS. All right, like what, regardless of what my feelings are about this, I haven't even stated that, right? Regardless of what my feelings are, I got to work under Twitch TOS. If this channel disappears tomorrow, it means literally nothing to any of you, right? You'll say it sucks, but you're going on with your fucking lives, right? This channel means something to me. I put a lot of work into it. So again,
Yeah, I
knock
totally
it the fuck off.
Okay, but even to
Great.
you, and I understand that point. But okay, instead of you, we'll go to Twitch. Why is it an issue when a black person says it's not an issue?
Ask them.
Wait.
I don't know.
Wait,
Let's
wait,
go.
but
Let's
Prime,
go. Let's
Prime,
go to Bam.
we
He's been
already
waiting.
answered that,
Let's
Kay.
go to Bam.
Black
He's been
people-
waiting. Bam.
Black
It's
people
because
say
there
it
might be a
is.
random.
Bam's another black person.
Yeah,
Who is
here.
muted? Ah, God. This was your moment. Oh.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, I've never muted. That's weird. Okay, this has to do specifically with the historical implications of which, like, if we were in a reading session, if we all agreed to do a reading session of like Huck Finn, I think that there would be a different expectation of like a reading over a word. But particularly if pointing to the specific issue with Dooby, he used it for a very specific purpose. He knew how to avoid it. It wouldn't have taken an effort all out of him. He used it to lay some secondary point that everyone in the room, everyone in the chat was able to understand. Like, he tried to there was something to that. So it wasn't just him casually using the word without any context and just like stating words. There were implications, even if the surface of his phrase wasn't derogatory. He was trying to prove that, like, oh, I'm better than this word, and this is gonna start up a fight, and this is gonna stir up some BS. And again, that's
You weren't
just
even
what
listening.
It
Your
absolutely
ears just
is.
shut off when you heard someone else say the word. That's what happened.
But that's just answering.
You went deep into your fifis when I said the word. That's what happened. You weren't paying attention to the because
did-
the
did
statement that I
anybody-
made.
I didn't even respond.
The
I
question.
didn't even open my mouth.
Well, hold on. That was a
Well,
so
hold
the
on.
question.
You can have your
The
point. but
question I was
have a point.
asking.
I was just answering her
Oh,
question.
God.
That was just
Hold on,
answering. My
really
point.
quickly. Oh God.
No,
go ahead.
you can. My entire point of this is, but while we're trying to play to like some like inconsistent game, there are. Well, I guess Prime didn't answer specifically, but for me, Fanatiq, and New Salsa, all whenever the question was asked, all agreed. Is New Salsa you adjacent? You ain't spicy?
What?
Oh,
No,
never
I'm
mind.
Puerto Rican. My grandfather's black, so you
Okay,
can take
I-
that as.
I saw the nose. I was about to say.
Yeah, hold on. I've asked New Salsa directly, and New Salsa says he doesn't officially.
I don't identify as Afro Latino. I do not use the
Okay.
word no.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Right?
I saw the
that's an
phenotype.
entirely
Okay.
different
He is
That's a different
adjacent.
thing.
He is adjacent, and he is
That's
brown
another
and
thing. We gotta
beautiful.
we
Thank
gotta
you.
put a subcategory to the in
No,
group. We gotta
there's-
have a subcategory of who can say this within the in group. Like,
No,
that's
No,
Why can't we just play it by ear? I
Hey,
think
no,
can
we
just
don't. Listen,
estimate.
sweetheart. I get it. You think that we have to have a subcategory for
Sure,
who's included in
sweetheart.
the in group. That's you. That's not us. We know who can use it and who can't. I get it's hard for you to grapple with because your privilege stops at. I mean, your privilege is being challenged in this way by other people telling you
I don't
something
give a
you
fuck
can't
if I
do.
can-
Unfortunately,
I'm just
I'm sorry.
more
We're
like
not
you
stuck
can,
underneath
using
the
100
rules that
times
you
a
are
stream,
talking about.
and Dooby
We
can
have
say it
our
once.
own rules. We say it. We got a rule. We know what's acceptable. And if you can't follow it, it's okay. Just comply. It's that simple.
Just comply. I love it.
Just
I love
comply.
it.
I
Just
love that.
comply.
Hey,
I'm
right.
the last
Literally the
person
only
to
thing
tell
it-
comply.
it's a word
Hey,
that
Fanatiq,
comes out. Hey,
Like, it's a
Fanatiq.
word
Yeah,
that-
you're right. It's a
Hey,
authoritarian.
Hey,
Comply.
Fanatiq. Based off of her specific in group, right? Is she allowed to call you out for mansplaining this entire
Yeah.
fucking time?
Listen,
I'm just
she
curious.
Sweetheart,
She can call me. Yeah, you
Sorry,
dang right. I
sweetheart.
sure did, sweetie. Now listen, you can do
Fuck
whatever
off.
the
You ain't
you can do
sweetheart my
whatever the
ass.
freak you want to. You can call me out and say that I'm mansplaining or whatever the freak, but you would also recognize that the same way I'm talking to you is the same way I talk to everybody else on this panel. I talk to people the way I talk to people, and when they're deserving of respect, I respect them. When you start start saying stupid stuff that you don't understand, or challenging things, or pretending as if you can't follow basic English after I explain something to you rationally and calmly, and then keep asking the same old stupid questions, getting back on a loop. But wait, but again, though, why can't we say it? Now you're gonna get that reaction. Freak out of here. I don't know. I'm sorry.
But like,
You
either way,
haven't been
but
rational or
what we were
calm
talking-
this entire debate.
I feel like y'all, like I say, again, when Fanatiq and me, at least, so I'll take the Fanatiq and me. Whenever the original question was asked about it being a slur, it being an issue, we were quick to acknowledge, like, yeah, it's definitely a slur. And we admitted if there was some in-group thing, no, probably inappropriate to say, and we accepted that. We sat with it, that was fine. We had no problem with this concept. But being the concept that there's this one little thing that you know that you're not supposed to do gets under y'all skin so much that like this is the one place that really gonna have. It is.
No, I honestly don't give a fuck. It's just more confusing that you even had to stop and question if new salsa is included in your in-group. That is my issue.
I wouldn't have questioned new salsa.
Please explain how the inability of a group of people to say a word is representative of their privilege.
Dude.
I would like to hear your basic
Oh, sure. I
understanding.
got you. Okay, sure. I can break it down. I got you.
If you would love to,
trust me.
Don't worry.
Trust
He'll call
me.
you
I would.
stupid. It'll be okay.
Trust me. I would.
Okay,
Trust me.
you can
I would
answer the
love to
question and
explain
then
it to you.
Dooby. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I
I
want to
got
hear
you.
this
Yeah,
explanation.
I got you. It's really simple. The real simple explanation is that you guys are probably used to not having to worry about or not being challenged on whatever you can and can't do. That's part of what privilege is. And in this case, in this case, your privilege is being challenged because you see that there is a word that people of color can use, specifically Black people, that seems like it draws a certain level of ire that your mileage is going to vary, or your mileage is going to differ greatly. And I think that's where the privilege is. You know, we can do it and you can't. And that's been your entire line of questioning. Why is it you can do this thing that I can't do? That's why I said your privilege is being challenged.
No, I just wanted you to explain your racist philosophy out.
Oh, sure. Call it racist if you want. I don't care about your labels because I know that you know that it isn't. So I'm not really tripping. Trust me.
Okay.
So,
Let's go to Dooby.
So again, guys, the N-word pass that I have is in the chat, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to respect Prime and his channel, all that good stuff. Okay. But what I was trying to point out, right, is that we're apparently not in the in-group, right? I grew up saying the word. I'm not in the in-group apparently. All these other people here aren't in the in-group. But Fanatiq is using that word repeatedly towards me and others on this panel who he says are not in the in-group in a derogatory way, right? So why isn't it a slur when he's using a word that is traditionally viewed as a racial slur that he says when other people say it outside of the in-group, it's meant as a racial slur? Why is he using the word in a derogatory way toward other people on this panel?
Because you can't use a slur against someone whose race it's not directed to, right? It doesn't make any sense.
How do I know whether or not he hasn't watched my content and knows that I'm descended from Black slaves on both sides of my family?
Wait, hold on,
he wants to call that out and hurt me for it because he thinks that my white privilege doesn't want to admit my Black ancestry, and that's why he's calling me the N-word specifically to target my race and be hateful. I don't know. Maybe the entire problem is the subjectivity of the entire experience of who is and isn't offended by the usage of a word, and you either support free speech or you fucking don't, and you come in here with a bunch of Marxist trash philosophy.
I love this. Listen, my ancestors were racist, so I can't. So
hold on. That's not what he said. He said he had slaves on both sides of his family. His family, his ancestors were slaves.
That's what I just said. I just said my ancestors were slaves, so therefore I'm not racist. I'm part of the in-group, right? Like, and that's actually.
Is that what you heard? Is that what you heard? Is that your low IQ take?
This is so
room temperature IQ take?
I'm sorry. So I guess maybe he was talking. Maybe I'm supposed to pretend that he's talking about white slaves or some kind. Maybe I know I got it because you just talked and I didn't get a chance to respond yet. So embedded in this entire time.
Oh my God! No! Everyone stop! Everyone stop! Okay, Dooby, finish your point.
He finished.
He finished. What?
I actually didn't finish. So what I was trying to get to, right, is the fact that you feel comfortable using what you think is a slur toward other people on this panel, right? When you say they're outside of the in-group, And you say when this word is used outside of the in-group, it's a slur. So you're using racial slurs against people on this panel. But the fact that you're using this specific word toward these other people who you say are not in the in-group or not black proves that the word, in the way that it is used, the N-word with the A, has no real racial connotations in modern day, right? In the way that it's used colloquially, right? So it makes no sense for you to be upset when I say the word.
Well, okay.
Right, I'm just gonna.
No. Let me respond, please. He literally just repeated himself.
And then Mad Latin, who's also black.
Sure. So he literally just repeated himself. So the funniest thing about it is, one, like he asked the question, well, why is it that he already said that people outside of the in-group can't use the word, but then he can use the word directed at people outside of the in-group? The rule was
in a derogatory way.
The rule was, I didn't use it in a derogatory way. The rule was,
yes, you did.
The rule. You can tell me how I meant it if you want to. I don't care. The rule was, the rule was, people outside of the in-group can't use the word. It's that simple. I'm inside of the in-group, so I can use the word. So therefore, your dumb question of why can he use the word directed at other people, it still fits within the parameters of people.
Fanatiq, are you ever going to answer anyone's question?
It still fits within the parameters of people with inside the in-group can use the word. Never did I make a qualifier on who specifically the word could be directed at.
Okay, so I was trying to be charitable.
Okay,
I was trying to be charitable,
I
but it seems like this is just racist. You are just a racist.
It's hilarious.
You're racist when people ask who aren't your skin color say a word. You might promote beating them up for it, right? So that's how racist you are.
Okay, great.
When have I ever promoted that? You're a liar. Stop making
shit up. God. All right.
Mad Latin.
Okay, so I think it's hilarious that Fabian tonight starts like, I feel like every point, Fabian, you start off with something that sounds quite reasonable, right? Like you'll say something like, this is subjective, and you're right, it's fucking subjective. And then you'll start going down your ideological lens, talking about free speech and shit, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is subjective, 1000%, yes. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that we get to do whatever the fuck we want. It means that we have to accommodate whoever we encounter. So if you want to say, chill.
By your ideology, maybe, but
no, it's cool. It's cool. I'm not talking about my ideology versus your ideology. I'm saying that you're using your ideological lens to decide what this means. And what I'm telling you is that if you want to keep the peace, generally speaking, if that's where we're going to put our efforts, which clearly you don't give a fuck about, but fine. The best way of doing that would be to just accommodate the needs of the folks you're encountering. So if you're hanging out with people who are offended by your use of any word at all, don't use that word. It's very simple.
I would simply quote George Orwell at you and say, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear.
Yeah, okay. So, like, you would rather disrespect people than, like, bend your ideological will here? Is that what you're saying? Like, you have the right... You're basically saying...
Fabian, I don't think anyone's saying it should be, like, illegal to say the N-word. They're just saying there's going to be social consequences, right? Like, I don't see anything incoherent about this in free speech. You can completely believe in free speech, but also say, hey, maybe I shouldn't say things that are extremely offensive to people for no reason.
Right.
Boom, we solved it.
Can engage
I'm
at a cultural level
you guys...
as well. We can engage. We don't necessarily have to engage at a legal level. We can engage at a cultural level.
But freedom is a legal thing, right?
But we can not
so we're going to try to force people to change what they're comfortable with. It's what you actually want to make people more comfortable with shit words. That's your point. Like,
some people may want to. That's not necessarily particularly my desire.
Okay, then what's the fucking point?
My point is we can look at a culture of constant censorship. We can look at the fact that people
We're not talking about censorship. I'm telling you to respect the people you're encountering.
We can
look I'm offended by the word.
You're not even doing that right now. Most of the people on this panel have agreed that the C word is racial slur. We've decided to substitute it with cookie, and you have cookies floating in the background to substitute the racial slur that we all just saw.
Because I want to make sure everybody knows what
you have a thing.
It's very clear.
Don't be stupid, right? So you're not being sensitive to all the people on this panel who think that word is a racial slur. You have a symbol for it floating in the background.
All of the cookies in my background are offending you right now.
Well, I'm telling you, we decided that cookie would be a stand-in for what most people on this panel agree is a racial slur. I'm asking why you, the person who's promoting it. Hold on, I'm asking please. I'm asking why you, think it's okay to do that. Now, yeah, it
If
does
anyone's
offend me.
offended,
It does.
I
It
would
does
take it
offend
down.
me. It does offend me
Okay.
that you think it's
I will
okay
replace it with
to have
something more
what's
appropriate.
effectively racial slurs.
I
floating around
got
in
you.
the
I
background.
got you.
Good job, Mad Latin. Stay consistent. So good.
That's
Replace
fine.
it.
I'll change
But then
it.
It's
Yeah.
really crazy to me. It's really crazy to me that he can get on here and say that the word cookie is offensive to him when I've like expressed God knows how many different times in different ways, and he knows culturally and colloquially it's offensive to use the N-word, yet he felt comfortable to go ahead and open up his mouth to do that over the internet. It's really crazy to me. Now let's really talk about who's being inconsistent, nigga.
Wait, hold on. But again, I grew up saying the word in an area where the word is said by everybody, white, black, brown, Asian, all these people, right? So when I interact with you, who is apparently growing up in a community where that's not the case, you're asking me to be respectful of your fucked up culture where only black people can say the word, right? Where there's like a cage runner on this word and only black people can go into that cage and say the fucking word, right? So I think that's ridiculous. Right, so why don't you respect my much more open, much more progressive culture, where everybody says word and is shared by everybody in the community?
Come spread
I
that.
don't believe anything that you're
in
talking
your
about. I
culture.
think that's
Come spread that in
internet
my community.
nonsense.
Dooby, are you
Well,
familiar
yeah,
with
you're
the
just-
Hoff twins?
The
I don't
Hoff
believe anything
twins?
you're talking
I don't.
No.
Yeah, they were.
Wait, hold on. You don't think
Are those the
black
buff
and
guys?
you don't think brown and Asian and white people across this country say that word in a friendly way to each other? All
Those
every
are
day?
very-
Well, listen. As I've said a billion times, Bam beat me to it, and he knew it was coming. Mileage may vary. Sure, maybe maybe there was a culture where you said that. I know that you still don't feel comfortable in the presence of black people that you don't know saying that word. So
No,
you
that's
can
not true.
pretend you can pretend on the internet that you don't that it's perfectly
That's just
acceptable.
not true.
I know for a fact if I was to bring you around some niggas, you would definitely be really hesitant to use that word.
Hold on.
You
Hold
can
on. So
lie
that's
all you want to. I'm not
hold on.
entertaining
No,
that
don't be
one,
silly.
buddy.
That's just not true, right? So you can pretend it's a lie, right? That's fine, but it's just not true. And again, the reality is that word is used in this way by people of all skin colors across this country, just like Martin Luther would have wanted. Okay, Martin Luther King would have wanted. So you attempting to draw racial lines around this fucking word because your fifis are hurt, right? And then implying repeatedly that you or people around you might act violently toward me or Scott or to anybody else who happens to blurt out the word around you is fucking crazy. You
No, you're
sound like a
speaking
crazy
reverend.
person.
Wait, that's
Not the honorable
like the
reverend.
reality of the situation, though, Dooby. Like you understand this. Like I understand, right? I don't want to
Wait,
take
did you just
Fanatiq,
say
but
that Martin Luther King Jr. would have wanted everybody to say the N-word?
He would have wanted America where people are judged by the content and the character and not the color of the skin. Okay.
I feel like you're
And
kind
I
of drawing
think-
some
And
very
I
spectacular
think,
conclusions
and I
here.
think, and I think, and I think,
And you
that,
think, and you
yeah.
think,
So the
and you
reality is that
think,
there
okay.
are stupid, emotional, bitch-made people in this country who will, if you say a naughty word around them, they're going to react violently. They're going to beat you up. They're going to try to hit you, and then you call the cops and you get them arrested and put in a cage for a few years. That's wonderful. If they want to be added to some prison statistic, I'm totally fine with that. That's their decision.
Look, like the whole point is like accommodating people's needs, right? Like we don't have to be disrespectful just because we would prefer not to have to censor ourselves, right? Like we can literally just be like, oh, you don't like this? Well, I won't do this because you specifically asked me not to. Like it's really straightforward. I don't know why this is such a fucking huge debate. Like this is why I tuned out the Twitter thing. This is why I had my mic on mute for the last like hour and a half. It's just really stupid.
He had the audacity to be upset about you like having a cookie, a literal cookie, which is like a derivation of an insult. In some kind of way, he's gonna do that while recognizing that this is something that's offensive to me that I very much outlined to him. I do not want him doing, and then he did it anyway. Freak out of here, bro. This nigga's just trying to morally grandstand. Everyone can see
it's offensive to me that you're attempting to control my language.
Possibly be, bro. Get the freak out of here.
It's offensive that you're attempting
nice
to
try.
control my
Everyone
language
sees
and
through
Scott's language because
You
not because
attempted.
not
This is an
because of
online
any
internet meme,
moral
bro, and
or
everybody can see
philosophical
past
position.
it. You would
but
never have this conversation
literally
in
because
person.
of the color
I
of
know
my
that
skin.
you know better,
you're
and
trying to
everyone in
control my
this
language.
chat can recognize that if you were in person around niggas you didn't know, you wouldn't say that dang word.
I'd say it right to your face. I'd say it right to your face.
Okay, sure, you know me, but I'm saying you wouldn't say it around niggas you don't know. That was the point. I didn't say niggas you know me, you're aware of me. Now you're moving the goalpost to specifically me, and I know you know better. Freak out of here. You would not use this around unknown niggas, and I know that you know that, liar. Listen, you can say that. I'm not buying it, bro. Whatever God you're selling, I ain't buying it.
The core of the problem we're having here, right? So I understand that you get offended when people outside of people who aren't black, let's just say that word, right? I find it offensive that you're attempting to limit my use of the word based on this color of my skin. That's really fucking offensive to me. You're attempting to impose limitations upon me because of my skin color. That's fucked up.
Listen,
I mean,
that's a super reductive way of putting it. And if you feel like that because you you're incredibly reductive, that somehow wins you the argument, then more power to you, buddy.
I mean,
go
like,
ahead and take that gamble in person, and let's see how the results go.
I mean, like, it's kind of a dumb argument to say, like, oh, because of the skin color anyway. Like, I don't think that is even inherently, like, what the issue is here, right? Like, it's just, like, literally, are you offending people? I mean, no, because, like, the thing is, there's plenty of people of a variety of skin color. I mean, my skin color isn't the same as Fanatiq's, right? But if I was to start using the N-word, I mean, I never felt comfortable using it. Like, I think I've ever said it like, twice in my life, right? But like,
I didn't realize I'm needed.
But like, I don't feel comfortable using it because I don't want to accidentally offend someone, even if I have like, you know, the ethnic past to do it, right? So like, I'm censoring myself because I care about how other people feel. Like, that's it. Like, it has nothing to do with your skin color. You're trying to make it a skin color thing, Dooby.
It's absolutely my skin color.
No, but
what the fuck are you talking about?
No.
Fanatiq's requirement is that I'm black, right? I have all the cultural I have all the cultural background to say that word any fucking time I want. But because I'm not black,
you have the cultural background of being black, buddy. You do.
But we both
know
that
I know you like to ignore reality. It's like you like to ignore that there's some black people are into race play and some Jewish women are into Nazi porn. The reality is that in this country that you live in, brown and Asian and white people say that word to their friends all the fucking time.
Listen, today I learned that Dooby is culturally black. Okay, you learn something new every day. You just taught me something new.
No, I don't think you need to be. I don't think you need to be black culture. Right? I grew up in the fucking ghetto where people say that's where people say the fucking word. I grew up saying dog and the N-word all the fucking time. What are you talking about?
Because you're wrong again. It's not just in the ghetto that people say that word. Black people outside of the ghetto say that word too.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy. So it's crazy. So on so many levels, you're consistent. It's so crazy that on so many levels, consistently. No, that's not what he said. He didn't just say I'm in the ghetto and that's where I heard it used. He said I'm in the ghetto and that's where people use the word. So he was broadening it to say generally, and the ghetto is where this word is used. And what he doesn't recognize is that black people outside of the ghetto also use that word. So I'm sorry for you.
Are you ever going to argue in good faith?
I'm sorry for you speaking for him, but he was wrong. He was wrong, and you're wrong too for trying to summarize what he was saying, and you were wrong.
I mean, are you ever going to argue in good faith, Fanatic?
Good faith?
Or are you
just this whole time? You're arguing
and pick apart people.
The only thing you've been arguing about the last is that you want to be able to say where the fuck you want. Like that's it.
You think your people's arguments is bad faith?
Dealing with you because you cannot argue in good faith.
I'm just not going to have a logical argument about that.
I don't think you know what good faith means, buddy.
I'm not going to do it.
Like, it's just very simple. We should accommodate people's needs. That's it. Like, I don't know why this is so hard. And like, Dooby, you can choose to be uncharitable about it and assume it's about skin color, but you know for a fact that it's not about skin color. It's about whether it's not about that.
His requirement is skin color.
Listen,
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Maybe you're not following along.
I did not say skin color. Listen, I'm sorry. You guys can speak for me. Hold on, Mad Latin, really quickly. It's not skin color.
Wait, hold on. Let me just finish.
Okay.
Just finish real quick. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna cut in real quick. Like, what Fanatiq was about to say is not just skin color. And my point is that like whatever Fanatiq states as far as his requirement goes is not going to be all encompassing, right? Like it's literally he's going to perceive your use of the word based on a variety of factors, and if he thinks you're doing it in a way that's derogatory, he's going to get pissed. That's the bottom line. There's no abstract like set of rules or principles that Fanatiq can actually deliver that would actually clarify precisely who can or cannot do it.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yes, there is. It's okay, fine, but
we poked holes in that the whole time, so I'm with you, Mad Lad.
It's subjective. I
you
think.
can say that.
Who cares? It's subjective.
I mean, it's still
subjective. Just because something is subjective doesn't mean that it's not. It's inconsistent, and that's where the problem comes into play, right? And my thing was not based on skin color, right? Because obviously there's people like that are albinos, or you have people in my family who are mixed, who look extremely white, red hair, blonde eyes. I mean, red hair, gray eyes, blue eyes, blonde hair, who are still very much black. Right? Like literal cousins and other family members. So it's not going to be based on skin color. It's going to be based on your race. And race, sometimes your skin color can lie your race. So it's not based on skin color. I don't know where the freak you got that.
So if they're blonde, oh, just real quick. So if they're blonde, so like, because apparently you fail to see subjectivity and why that is an issue in this.
Sure.
And I think it's because I don't know, like you seem so heavily.
Right, so we're gonna do some. All right, we're gonna do like character assassination.
Yeah, he's not gonna get to his point. Get to your point, idiot.
Family members. Let's take one of your family members that's
Sure.
white passing,
Sure.
Jesus fucking
right?
Christ.
And then they use the N-word with, let's say, you, right?
Yo.
But you're in a public space.
Sure.
So what do you do about the fact that other black people, right, in, let's say, a restaurant that you're saying it in, see this occurring and feel offended and violated, not knowing that your white passing family member, right, has black family, and thinks that because they're white passing, they don't have the standpoint epistemology of being a black man or woman.
I mean, this is where
America.
communication
And
comes
Sure.
in, right?
So
You just
let
can't
me
say,
answer
"I
this
didn't mean
question.
that."
Let me answer the question, please. It's
Right.
really simple because this is actually a real life, a real lived experience. So it's really simple. In those sort of cases, yeah, you're going to probably have to explain it. I've seen like attempted fights over that. And the thing is, like, this is their colloquialism. This is something they grew up in, their culture. They are very much black. So they're going to say the word. But unfortunately, some people are going to perceive that they're not black because typically black people present a specific way and they just don't happen to look that way.
We police
So in those
language off of
cases,
genetics.
in those cases,
policing
in
language.
those cases, you'd have to explain it. Like, this is my actual cousin.
But they don't accept
well, I don't know. I haven't ran into a situation where they
Is
don't
that not
accept it.
problematic, right? Is that not
Well,
an issue of
it would be
subjectivity?
problematic.
Listen, so
Is it not
I get
hurting
it.
and offending
No,
other people
no.
if they don't believe it?
So here's the deal. I get what you're pointing out to me is that there are situations in which there can be complications that make it that cause friction, right? And that's
Mhm.
part of the human condition, right? Whenever you start coming up with a system, any man-made system is going to have certain subjective problems, and this is one of them. So yeah, sure, I'll grant that to you easily. Yet this is something that when if white passing black people use the word, there's going to be some friction on people that aren't aware that they are
Do you not
actually
see
black.
the- do you not see
I
the
get
issue with this?
that it's complicated. I get that it does cause some sort of friction, but that's just par for the course. Hell, there's gonna be issues where like they just got rejected, not even for using the N-word, just for people thinking that they were white. That was
Right,
problematic.
so-
It
so
happens.
the
Like
thing
that's
is
part of
that
the
the
action.
actual
is culturally
conversation-
black, though.
The actual conversation, right, is about what should platforms do, right? And you seem to be of the opinion, right, that your racial identity allows you the usage of the word on the platform, and that is acceptable. But that
I don't
it's
think
not
that's what Fanatiq
acceptable.
said, though.
That
I'll
it's
say
not that it's not acceptable. He didn't say it. He just said the N-word a bunch of times, and nobody had any problem with it. And he said it cheekily tons of times, so obviously he's okay with it, right? He's obviously not in a position where he thinks that black people shouldn't be allowed to say the N-word, or he wouldn't say it a fuck ton of times on this very panel, right? And so the issue here is we're having a debate not about whether or not white people should or shouldn't say this word. The debate is about the terms of service and the usage of certain ethnic slurs and what is acceptable and not acceptable from what platforms should do to regulate the language on their platforms. And so by adding in this element of subjectivity, what we get to is the difficulty of the ability to police it and all of the people's subjective experiences. And this is the very reason why looking at this, maybe not in your personal life and in the way that you choose to associate with people, but in terms of creating broad rules for a platform, the subjectivity makes it a very difficult thing to police accurately because you don't have the ability for an algorithm, right? Or for Twitch mods, or for people that want to get your channel taken down, to be able to go through the subtle nuances of all of these things. And this is why we're focusing on the subjectivity.
I mean, it's just
It's
people
Because
crazy.
looking at
It's
it.
not that subtle. It's not very
Wait,
subtle. It's
wait.
really, really simple. If you're black, you can say the word. And yes, there are going to be, again, specific and like outliers that are not going to be the normative outcome, right? Like, so we can see like white passing black people is a hyper minority because black happens to be black genes tend to be a little bit more dominant. See, I wasn't
There's
going
a
to say
lot of
superior,
there's a lot of
so because of
there's a
that,
lot
then
of
it makes
gray
all
area.
of the sense why yeah, it would create some sort of problem. I mean, it would only be in those specific cases that you would run into an issue. But like,
Right,
I don't know why
because
you're making it sound like that's
other-
going to be the norm.
Well, I mean, like, I
Because
think
this
like the
is
big
the-
problem here is that like we're trying to create like some sort of broad like global rule.
Yeah.
Because like there's like small tiny little problems here and there, and like the point is like we should just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like there's a
This
few
is-
problems,
This
just
is also
fucking
super bad in
communicate
Eastern
about
Europe.
those. Okay, well,
Eastern
whatever.
Europeans use the N
Right,
word
but-
all the
okay,
time, and
great,
a lot
but
of them don't even
Shut the
know
fuck
that
up
it's
for
a
a second.
racial
It's
issue.
fine.
Yeah.
You
They
can
try-
leave
they
it
try to
on
add
comment.
Atlanta.
It's fine.
Yeah. So I want
Just-
Matt Let and then New Salsa, who hasn't been able to talk. However,
Great.
look, it looks like from what I'm seeing, people are checking out that Hassan is banned, right?
Yeah,
Now,
that's
that is
what
the
I was gonna
case.
bring up.
Well,
Wait,
then,
Hassan's banned?
yeah.
Like,
So that's the case.
Probably like a week.
Chill the fuck out. Chill the fuck out, and don't fuck around with my channel. Thank you. Go.
Jesus fucking
I gotta
Christ,
change my
that's
stream
bad
title
news.
or my stream title. Holy shit!
That's bad. Wow. That's fucking mind blowing. So, yeah, I think on the side of caution sounds really good. And I think disrespecting people for no reason at all is bad. So, with that in mind, I think we can all work on censoring ourselves regardless of whether we have the card or not, because we want to respect others. That's my general take on it. And that's all I got to say. That's fucking shocking. I'm speechless.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell white people what to do with their words and their language. I was about to say, like, the real thing is this is just one word that I'm gonna say, and I'm not gonna give you a logically aligned definition that makes everyone in this chat feel good, because I don't feel like I owe y'all that. I'm just gonna say it when I want to
It's
say
just
it.
freedom of association, man.
No,
If
not
you don't like
association.
people saying the shit, then fucking block them, ban them, or don't talk to them.
Yeah, and that's what Twitch is
Just
doing.
know that that's
that's
probably
what
not a guy
Twitch
you
is
want to hang
doing.
out with.
Yeah, but
That's
just
what Twitch is
what
doing.
so what happens when that becomes the next bannable word on Twitch and y'all are just throwing it around like it's candy, and now y'all are getting banned for saying that word?
If you don't, then
One-
if you
that's
don't like
never-
the platform, you
that's
leave
never
the
gonna
platform.
happen. That's never
That's-
gonna happen, because that word has obviously, like, there are plenty of examples where we obviously recognize.
All right,
well,
somebody clip this when this
it-
happens.
well,
and we
sure,
come
yeah,
back to
yeah.
you.
I would like that. The thing is, I'm not psychic, right? I'm just observing. So I would say it seems like there's nothing that I've ever seen that would indicate that this is something that's in our near or distant future, right? Like the fact of the matter is, we all recognize that, like, this is something that has been used specifically with the intent of, like, disempowering the word. And so if that's been our goal and we've successfully done so, I don't know why we would, like, suddenly just be like, yeah, no, we're gonna add on some sort of restriction to your ability to do so. That seems like that would be arming our oppressors. I mean, our oppressors.
Can I
But
ask
it
you a
has
question?
to be
I
this power.
do want to hear from
Twitch policy,
unless
yeah.
Kay wants to respond. I do want to hear from Salsa.
No, New Salsa can. Oh,
Please.
he was raising it too.
Oh, I was actually real quick. All right. As my hair gets curlier and curlier, I got my Africa shirt with the Puerto Rico stems because there's a lot of Latin culture. Just want to bring that up. I switched my shit around. But with that being said, I think I was gonna bring up that Hassan just got banned, but I also want to say it was a very good ban. Like, that was it.
Can I ask a good faith question to you,
wait, you think
Fanatic?
it's a good
Like,
ban?
legitimate?
I don't think you have a good faith
I think I personally 100% think it's a good ban. I would like to see Twitch 100% strive, not for any monetary reasons, going forward, about trying to remove, like, it's like, I can call you like a grinder, right? I don't know if that's an offensive term or slur for anybody, right? But if I use it in that manner, right? For example, I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm attacking other Puerto Ricans by calling you stupid grinder or something crazy like that, right? I 100% think, like, it's your intention behind it, right? Specifically with Hassan, and listening to his content, he has used the cookie word, in a very aggressive and offensive manner towards people who fill that qualification, right? So specifically for him, I think he walked into it intentionally, and it needs to be, it's racism, and it's inappropriate for this platform. That's what I feel about it.
Okay.
Can I ask a legitimate?
No.
good faith question?
Hold on. I gotta get some other people in. Okay. So, Bam, I think you had your hand up previously, right? If not, then let's go to Dooby.
Well, I'm just kind of curious because I would agree with what Fanatiq said earlier about, this word has been disempowered, right? And is being used in this way to remove the power from it. But how can you argue that it's been disempowered, also simultaneously saying that if the wrong person says it around you, or people that you know, right, there might be violence? It seems like it has tons of power.
Oh, sure. It isn't fully disempowered, like, but that's the direction that things are heading. And I think part of that is because, again, people are going to, like, have different assumptions about, like, what the person's intent is. Given the fact that we know how, like, poor, how we've like created like societal standards that say that this is something that someone shouldn't do. When a person goes out of their way to go ahead and do it, like say on a panel or something, you know that their intent in that situation is to offend someone because they know what's expected of them. They're choosing to violate the agreed upon principles by like 99% of society. So in that case, then it's like, okay, you can give a person what they want or respond to the action, but it's not necessarily because of the fact that you're personally like offended or whatever, right? Like that, I'm not personally offended by someone using the word. I don't particularly care about it, but what I would be offended at is their intent, and I think that's the case for most people, or at least I hope it is. And of course, there's going to be different people who are going to have more or less proximity towards like the offense regarding that word. So for some people, like they might be really hyper offended by it, but other people might be, not so much.
So I have a question. I mean, this is obviously for you, Fanatiq, but for everybody, like are separating this out a little bit, right? And looking into the future, kind of imagining we all have a little bit of a crystal ball here. Like how do people on this panel feel about an increasing level of newspeak and censorship within social media platforms, right? Like do you think that it is mostly newspeak, like Orwellian, right?
I don't think this is newspeak. Show me how this is newspeak then.
I mean, like okay.
We're using a word cookie to just like substitute in for like a word that's not even bad.
That's literally newspeak.
Okay,
right? Like,
okay, sure. So I guess on this specific panel, like we're doing it like in order to avoid TOS, but this isn't like some colloquial thing. It's not handed down by the government. So I think it's very different than like Orwell and that like in any Orwellian thing.
Yeah, and from the context
have
of
like
platforms,
a
from the
concern of
context.
like all of the social media institutions kind of coming together around certain ideological ideas to limit what speech is, like COVID banners and like, I mean, like there's so many examples of an increasing level of censorship on social media platforms. Like, does that not bother you, or does that not send off warning bells? I'm curious how. I mean, like, I know for right wingers it does. It's terrifying, but I'm just curious about everyone else on the platform. Like, does that send off warning bells that like our speech is being limited more and more as we go on?
I don't think our speech is being limited more and more. I think there was always restrictions on things that we could say. It wasn't like people were just allowed to just go and say the N-word. Well, at one point, people were just allowed to say like the N-word willy-nilly. But I would say since like we've passed discrimination laws, like back in like 1964 and 68, like during that movement, I think we saw like a complete change where we like developed like Better Business Bureau and other things like that, where you could like attack a person or snitch on a person basically for a person like using specific words that are like that are bad. So I don't, this isn't like some brand new thing. This is something that's existed for a while. There's been restrictions all the time.
I also think there's like justifiable ways you could have applied this thing, like specifically dealing with Twitch. Of course, we're not going to any, but I think there's been some like questionable word bans in the past. I just don't think that racial slurs is like the questionable line we're talking about. Like, what? Like, if you can't say racial slurs, what can you say? And I feel like there's lots of other things that you can say. Like, I don't think like this. If you feel like this is limiting your speech, I just don't know. Like, you have a very like.
I think the idea that is like right, because it extends way past.
So I wanted to actually go get into this crystal ball thing, because like I actually sort of want Fabian's like future where we get to say anything and it's just not offensive, right? Like I think that would be really cool if like a lot of words didn't have the connotations that they did. And I think it's possible, but like there's like two paths that we can go about. Well, no, I think so. I actually think so. Like we're talking hundreds of years, obviously. Like it's gonna be a long fucking time.
Never happen.
I mean, I disagree, but that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Tribalism is a thing, bro. When is tribalism ever going to end? It's not going to end. So
when the tribe ends, like when the distinction ends, that's what it is. Like there were slurs.
There's never going to be aware. Like once that happens, even when there's like not any crazy distinctions in that regard, then there'll be like familial distinctions.
Yeah, there'll be a new distinction. I agree. Yeah.
Right. So then there will always be tribalism, as we've seen, even in like Asian countries and stuff like that, where you have actual families where it's just siblings. Like no, it's me and my children versus you and your children, and we're like fighting over heiring, right? And like over who's going to be heir to the throne, things like that, right? Tribalism will never go anywhere.
Okay, so I mean, I agree, but I'm saying is like, I guess what I'm saying is that like, I think that the tribalism will be transformed in such a manner that it's not what it is today, which is like entire ethnic groups kind of like challenge each other. I think it'll be more localized, right? Like it'll be something where like a slur that exists in like one city might not be a slur that exists in a different city.
That already is. That's already a thing now.
I mean, that is already a thing, but I'm saying like the broad ones that we have, I think will start becoming more and more non-existent as like groups mingle and mix and whatever else, right, over time. But I wanted to get at that. This is even the part I wanted to get at, though. The part that was interesting to me is that there's like two ways that people or groups get over conflicts like this, right? Like there's like the one which is what Fabian is really recommending, this idea of like trying to push people's comfort levels and make them more and more warm to the idea, versus this other concept that I think I'm pushing, which is just accommodate until the word's no longer a big deal, and then the word stops being a big deal because we've accommodated and we haven't forced people to listen to things they don't want to listen to.
Wait, how would that second idea work? That seems like the opposite of it would work.
Well, no, because over time words will lose their power because they aren't being used, right?
Like words are reason they're not being used is because they're so bad, then they're gonna maintain.
Yeah, they're becoming.
So
it becomes.
Everyone's gonna use them once in a while, right?
It becomes sacrosanct.
Everybody stops using forever, right? Obviously.
So it becomes sacrosanct, right? Like the word would become sacrosanct. You don't use it at all, and then eventually, eventually, what happens when a word is sacrosanct is that we start poking at the word being isolated in the way that it is, and its original meaning is lost altogether, and as a result that word loses power. So like over time, even if the word becomes sacrosanct,
yes. So here's a word, overmorrow. You know how people say there's no word in English for the day after tomorrow? There is. It's called overmorrow, and people literally just forgot the fucking word
morally
and
loaded
stopped
terms.
using it.
No,
I'm not saying it's not morally loaded. I'm saying
a morally loaded term that it adjusted, but then it came back, is like the F slur, right? I would venture to say, because my understanding, I'm not too old, right? But back in the 70s or the 80s, being called like F slur was an extremely like hard slur, extremely, like it was real bad, right? People said like you had options to fight straight off from school from that. Now, when I was a kid, right, in the thousands, right, or in the 90s, it wasn't like that at all, right? Even so much so that South Park made an entire episode saying how the word doesn't hold the same meaning anymore. Now, in today's time, it's gone back to the slurred side, right? But there is a period of time, I would say, from the 90s and like maybe the early thousands, where it did not hold any of, or not nearly as much of the hate and the vitriol behind it.
Right, but it changed because people used the word a lot, not because people stopped using the word, right? It wasn't like
I see what you're saying. Okay,
so like I agree with you that you can like use a word and it'll lose value. I just don't see what Madlad's saying is.
I mean, we could. I guess we could look for specific examples, but like,
yeah, it's not that I don't believe you. I just can't think of any.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of. Yeah.
It'll be in my dying will that my children say the N-word at least once.
They're not ethnic slurs.
Absolutely.
They're slurs, derogatory slurs against children. But I mean, those are examples. Like
I will say though, Madlad, if you like the Fabian Liberty future where like people get less offended by things, we probably shouldn't be making new words that are off limits like cookies, right? Like if we don't want to have a world where people are offended by every word and stuff, why are we taking words that were pretty much unproblematic, like the cookie word, and making them problematic, right? Because I feel like it's us consciously.
Pan, you've said that from the beginning, and you've been wrong every single time. It's just not true that white people weren't offended by that word. That was literally our retort when the N-word was being used. It was considered offensive. I've seen fights happen over this word. I don't know what you're talking about. If you just Google the history of the word, it has always been a racial slur. I don't know what the freak you're talking about. There are plenty of white people offended by that. Stop saying that.
Wait, hold on. But it was a classy slur initially, and then it became a racial slur.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way off base, but I would guess that probably at least 80% of white people are not offended.
I mean, the thing. So the point is,
real genuine question.
So the point would be,
I honestly don't think.
Back to Pan. I just want to
this is a word that average white person gets offended by. I don't think that's. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
Yeah, I just want to talk about your point real quick, Pan, and then I'll let Fabian get in. Like I think that like looking for new ways of being offended can be problematic, but like we're not looking for a new way of being offended. There are some people who are offended by that word, and because some people are offended, we should respect them, accommodate them, and that word will gradually lose power. That's my point. Like all you have to do is just respect your fellow human being and not use language they don't like, and then magic.
Well, I mean,
the word loses value.
Obviously, I would say I'm offended by the word elephant. right? Like,
Whoa, okay.
obviously,
No,
like, let's say it was genuine. Let's say it was genuine, right? Like, let's say I was genuinely offended by the word. I'm not, but if I was, I think it'd be ridiculous to expect society to stop using the word elephant because of some random person who doesn't like the word elephant.
You would expect everybody who knew you well and had conversations with you to not use that word, right?
So real
I mean,
quick.
maybe like.
And that's why I said that word instead of the explicit word that you just used. I'm not accommodating you without actually.
Like, the reason why what you're saying doesn't make any sense is because what you're talking about is you as an individual. It's not about you as an individual. It's something about society, like collectively, like having these things that are like kind of universally offensive. That's where like we start drawing lines.
I think
if any random individual ever came up with like, I just don't like this thing, like the idea that we all have to like acquiesce, that it's just, I don't think that's real.
It's real. It's called pronouns.
Like, what if
it
like
happens all the fucking time?
What if like
even pronouns are more universal, more spread.
I'm just saying, people do that shit all the time.
Well, I mean, pronouns are a little bit more widespread than this. Pronouns are more widespread, though. You can acknowledge that.
When they are absolutely more widespread, and clearly, like when we start talking about neo-pronouns, that's why you realize that there's so much insane backlash over that. And it's like,
right, but it's still a thing, and people still demand that they acquiesce.
But it's not. But it's not individual. It's not acquiescing. It's just accommodating, though, right?
Society has not gotten around that the same way. That's why these things are very different.
I think the better question, right? Because we're in a little bit of a minutia here, where we're talking back and forth and kind of arguing about, well, what about this and what about that scenario? My question is if your goal is to reduce the usage of racial slurs in society and online, right? And we recognize that people come up with new racial slurs, and we recognize some of the inability of us to do this. Do you actually think, does anyone here actually believe that banning these on online platforms and going after people's channels is actually having a positive effect on the general usage of these slurs?
Maybe.
Racial tensions?
Maybe. Because like the thing is,
really believe that? Because I don't think there's any evidence to support that. There's the exact opposite.
So belief and evidence are two different things, right? So like if I'm believing something,
well, I'm asking your opinion.
Right. So like my opinion, and it might be uninformed, is that by making everyone accommodate the requirements of others, making others feel good, making others feel welcome, you're creating an overall environment as a whole that reduces the ability for words to become more of a slur. Like this is like an aggregate thing. So it's not just one individual word. It's a widespread.
So you have seen the policing of communities. See, like, because maybe I'm wrong, right? Like, I don't think anybody has any good research on this, because it's such a large kind of macro, social kind of thing we're talking about. But it seems to me that as academia, as media, as social media consistently push much of this, this kind of critical theory, critical analysis, kind of like oppressed oppressor narrative, and the constant push to police language and ideas that are deemed kind of out of the Overton window. What it seems to me is that society is having more racial tensions, more racial issues, more people going into the dark corners of the internet like BitChute so that they can stay with their own people and say wild, crazy shit.
Wait, hold on. No, wait, hold on. Real question. Are you saying, like in 2021, right now, there's more racial tension than there was in like the late 60s?
In the late 60s? Why would you use that?
Just answer the question. Answer the question.
I disagree with the framing of your question.
So you're not going to answer the question?
Yeah,
so you're not going to answer the question. All right. So there we go. So you're really not trying to engage, right? Because I know. Fine. Since you didn't answer the question, I'll just go ahead. Since you didn't answer the question, I'll just make my own point anyway. Okay. So the obvious truth.
Oh my God! Everyone. Thanks. Okay. All right.
Can I finish my point?
Finish it.
Not if you're gonna scream
like that. Thank you. I wouldn't scream if you would shut up.
Dude,
So
you're yelling over me.
I wouldn't scream.
What are you talking about?
I wouldn't
Let's
scream.
talk. Like,
I was
I'm literally
talking.
just gonna-
I was talking. I
I'm
was
just gonna do
talking.
my Alex
I was
Jones
talking.
impression.
I was talking. I was talking, and then you spoke over me. So the obvious thing is that we all recognize that racial tension is not the same. Right now, what we're experiencing in 2021 is significantly more racial harmony than obviously in the 60s. Hell, there's more racial harmony than there was in the 70s, than there was in the 80s. We are progressing as a society. We are progressing as a society. Like, we are recognizing that more and more people are becoming less desensitized to the N-word, while I still have a staunch requirement that people that aren't black don't use the word. We obviously see that there are more societies that didn't like that allow Hispanics to say it. So there are some Asians who will say it around some black people. Mileage may vary, but obviously we are starting to see like some of these things start to dissolve a little bit. So like the idea that things are the exact same or getting worse right now, which is what he tried to frame it originally, it's just absolutely absurd. That's stupid. He's just being dishonest.
Yeah, he server muted me.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna.
unmuted.
I just want to
Scott,
actually.
go ahead. Hold on.
Yeah, so just
Doobie?
real quick.
I wanted to
again,
actually. Okay.
again, so so Fanatiq interrupts me, does bullshit questions, and then you server mute me when he starts yelling over me. So that's kind of cool. But anyways, your question's a bullshit question because you're comparing the 1960s, right, to 2021. It's very interesting that you compare pre-Civil Rights Act era of America to today, even though we know that there is data on racial tensions and issues, and we know that at the end of the Bush presidency was the least amount of racial tensions that we had in America, and that they grew during the Obama years and they skyrocketed during the Trump years, right? Now, is that Trump's fault? Is that Obama's fault? Is like, there's a lot of things here, right? What we have seen is an increase in racial tensions and issues.
Yeah, obviously Obama's fault. Doobie, go ahead.
Can I actually answer Fabian's question?
Wait, hold on. But Madrad, my question is for you, actually.
Okay.
So I'm going to put aside the fact that Fanatiq just explained why he's on the wrong side of history. But Madrad, you keep saying how we should be sensitive, or we should accommodate people if they feel offended by a word or whatever the fuck. What if I, someone who grew up saying that word and dog to refer to my friends and people that I cared about, people in the community, right? But now I come into this space, right, and I'm being told that I can't say that word because of my race, right? Why aren't you being sensitive to my needs and to my cultural background? Why do I need to be sensitive to his?
It's active participation, right? So like you are choosing whether or not you want to use this terminology, while others are choosing whether or not they want to listen to the terminology. It's two different things, right?
No, that's ridiculous, because I can choose whether or not I want to use the terminology.
Well, using a terminology is actually
they can be offended, but if we're told, if your point is that we're meant to accommodate people, right, and their
accommodate what people
their
want,
sensitivities or whatever,
hear,
right? Then if he can't accommodate me, then why shouldn't he just leave the space?
No, I mean, like, so again, it's active versus passive, right? Like it's being subjected to something versus actively doing something.
Do you think restricting my language is subjecting me to a thing? I would say that.
I mean, I would say that if someone's setting a clear boundary, you shouldn't walk over the boundary, right? So, like, if someone says, "Hey, please don't talk to me,"
what if my boundary is?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait. So, like, but see, that's active, right? Like, you want to. Like, you want to actively be able to do something versus passively receive something. It's two different things. So, like, if someone sets a boundary saying, I don't want you to text me, I don't want you to say this word around me, I want you, if you're referring to me, to use these specific pronouns, that is you accommodating in an active manner, right? So you're using language that is friendly to that person. You're doing those things, right? Okay, cool. If you are, so you're being limited in what you can do versus being limited in what you can hear. We are often subjected to things we don't like, right? And like we can accommodate on some level. Like if someone wants to be accommodating and let you use the N-word, it's their prerogative. But at a certain point, you're gonna have two people in conflict, and then you guys are gonna set boundaries. And if those boundaries don't line up, then oftentimes the two people who are in conflict are not going to interact with each other anyway.
So let's. You might have to just take this onto the open. Bam.
Yeah, I think that the point that Fabian made originally and then kind of moved away from was this concept of like, oh, it's the BS rules that are making people more racist. And then you said that, oh, the 60s was before the Civil Rights Act, when the Civil Rights Act could be defined as the BS rules you're talking about. Like, because it actually pushed back against the concept of free association. It said that no, these people do have an actual right
I'll
that
respond to that.
can't be like pushed back on. I think enforcing that law directly led to like a decrease in racial tension over time.
Quickly, Scott, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, any hardcore libertarian would be against that, right? Because we would be for repealing the Civil Rights Act because we believe in freedom of association. That being said, I don't think we're talking so much about, like you could actually look at a lot of the things that followed the Civil Rights Act. And some of those racial tensions, maybe they would have been better had things been done differently. But I mean, you kind of can't look at an imagined history, right? But what I'm talking about is not so much freedom of association being the issue here, though that is part of it. What I'm talking about is the policing and censoring of language off of areas where other people can challenge those ideas. Because what happens when someone gets censored and banned a bunch of times is they go to other platforms, right? And then what ends up happening is they're in a worse echo chamber and they feel victimized. And then they move as a victim, as someone that feels victimized, into something like the Daily Stormer. And what ends up happening is this is how people get radicalized.
Can I give you a direct counterexample? I just want to do like a 2-second counterexample.
You said 2 seconds before. Is actually.
I thought it was going to be 2 seconds. It's very short. So, like, I'm directly going to talk about Barack Obama and Donald Trump making things more racist, right? Like, Donald Trump was given a platform and free speech to be able to claim. No, were you talking about earlier? You were saying that things have gotten more racially escalated since the Bush years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you were wondering whether it was Barack Obama or Donald Trump, right? Or why it happened?
No, not at all.
Oh, well.
He just said correlated, right? He said it started
with
Obama
and
then it went up even more under Trump.
Okay. So, like, my point here is simply that, like, if we look at the free speech that Donald Trump was given, the fact that he got to lead a birther movement and suggest that Barack Obama was an American because he was from Kenya, et cetera, that's a clear example of where free speech can actually cause racial escalations, right? So, like, it's not just an all or nothing thing. We should ban some speech, or we should not ban speech at all because it'll stop racism. We have to kind of choose what's allowed and what's not.
The new N-word on Twitch is nuanced.
We gotta move on. We've already passed. Our time limit here. Okay. To my audience, we will continue on to the open walk-on panel, right? If you're new here, you may not be aware, but yes, after this, right? Like right after this, we'll go into open walk-on panel on space like you. Yes, you may participate, right? So if you had anything to say about this, all of this, well, then we'd love for you to join. Right? That's your opportunity. You're sitting at home, you're like, what the fuck? How could so-and-so make this and this point? Well, now's your opportunity to do something about that, right? We give you that space. If you appreciate that, first of all, hit that follow button if you haven't done so yet, right? If you haven't done so yet, hit that follow button, make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. I do 6 nights a week. We give you plenty of content. Don't want you to forget about the content, okay? Right? Great. And then, past that, !social and chat, !social and chat is where you'll find our social media. Follow us on Twitter for channel updates and stuff. Discord is where we'll have everything, right? That open panel is going to be on Discord if you want to be a part of the community and anything else that we do, right? Including this open panel. Jump into that Discord. YouTube is where to find the VODs. If you missed any of this, right, and you want to see the rest of it, well then jump on YouTube, right? Jump onto YouTube and watch, like, comment, subscribe, and consider becoming a member on YouTube. Hit that join button and help out the channel, support the channel. All right, great. I'm going to give an outro to all these individuals, right? Oh, thank you, Benji B, for the kind 6 subs. Love to see it. Pretty much 75 subs. Almost to 100. Love to see it. Thank you, Benji B, for the kind support. You're a big supporter of this community. But
they were at 69 before that, and they ruined their 69 to get 75. Good for you.
Yeah, I know. Right? How could they? I'll take the money though. So I'm going to give an outro to these individuals, but the stream does not end. The stream is not over. The content continues, so stick around. Just going to give an outro to all these amazing individuals who provide you with all this great content. So, starting with Mad Latin. Mad Latin, thanks for coming through. For a person not interested in the topic at all, right? You still have a lot to say. So thank you. Much appreciated. And also much appreciated to Anonymous Gifter for gifting 500 bits. Awfully kind of you. Thank you. We're almost to our hype train. So gift bits or gift sub. All right, Mad Latin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on these panels. And yeah, I didn't exactly have an interest at first. And like, obviously I didn't communicate until the interest started. So yeah, it got interesting towards the end, and I'm glad that it did. We were able to actually get to a reasonable point where I'm pretty happy. So yeah, it was cool. Get my book. It's wonderful and beautiful. If you play chess at all, this is the book for you. It talks about how to recover from mistakes and stuff. If you're not interested in chess at all and you're not interested in buying this book, that's fine. I linked my link tree here. You can follow me on Twitter. You can check out my stream, and you can click on the Amazon link for that book and just like spam that Amazon link to all your friends and have them click on it as well. Publishing day is like 13 minutes, and you can just click on it and make Amazon buy lots of copies of the book for me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okie doke, thank you. All right. Help them out. The link is in chat. If it's just as easy as clicking the link, then just click the link. And help our man Mad Lad. He's actually a great part of this community. Thank you, Captain A. Jones, for the 200 bits, putting us in a hype train, right? Because of the kinds of other individuals. We are at a level 2 hype train, 90% done. 81% left. Can we get to level 3 hype train? Support the community. Tip the channel. Subs to the channel, get our emotes, right? And all the other goodies. Subs to the channel, or gift bits, or gift subs. And consider continuing to sub. That also helps, right? Resubbing for Amazon Prime/Prime Gaming. You can also help the channel by using one free sub per month on this community. So we have 3.5 minutes left. Can we get to a level 3 hype train? Thank you for the ones who've helped us out so far. Problematic Pan, right? He's helped us out by being here and just being him, right? And that's why the subs have been rolling in. It's like you put Pan's face on it, all right? It's money. It's just pure money. So Pan, thank you for being around.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that all the money went to your channel instead of mine, but you know, it's understandable. It's understandable.
It was a mistake, a clerical error.
Yeah,
it
happens to the best of us. Like everyone misclicks from time to time. Yeah, it was an interesting topic. I'll have to do more research. If it turns out that white people are actually like majorly offended by the use of the word cookies, I'll have to rethink my position, and I'll have to say, yeah, probably we shouldn't use it. From my perspective, I would be surprised if that's the case, but obviously, you know, my personal experience isn't everyone's, so I'll have to look into it. Maybe it is the case. From my perspective, though, I still think most white people view it as a very mild insult. But, you know, I'm open to change on that. We'll see.
I think you should hit the streets and actually try it like person per person and just like
what that
have a chart.
Is, like, I'm a cookie, so I don't.
No. You just go there and you try it. Yeah, try it.
I'd prefer like a Pew Research poll. That'd be fascinating.
No. Just go person to person, and see what happens.
Just have you and a person of color both go and do the same thing.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Different areas, and you can try and see how it works.
Oh boy.
I would volunteer, but I'm not in your state. You're gonna have to find someone else.
I think
it's Arizona. It won't be very hard to find people.
You can do it in different areas.
Great.
But
just FYI, we do have 90 seconds left on the clock in terms of our hype train. How about the hype train? Tip the channel. If you've been enjoying this content, how about the channel? Subs to the channel. If you liked all this craziness, right? Sub to the channel, or gift bits, or gift subs, all kinds of options for you to keep this channel going, right? And you'll get exclusive hype train emotes when you do. We have less than a minute left on the clock. Can we get to a level 3 hype train? Help us out. Any more heroes in chat? Go ahead. Pan.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had finished my outro. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Problematic Pan.
No problem. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fanatiq. Gosh. You are a singular individual in this community. There's no one quite like you. But my man, I'm always happy to have you around. It's always a struggle. It's a struggle to manage. You make me work for it, right? You make me work for it all.
I'll make everybody else work for it too. I really do enjoy panels, like legitimately. I just have fun because I get to just be a complete like wacko and just like yell at niggas. But in reality, most of the time, if people don't interrupt me, I stay cool. Go ahead and watch the beginning of this debate and then watch what happened. I was speaking. Fabian finished speaking. I always shut up and let him finish. And then when I wanted to talk, I mean, when I start making my points, this nigga can't help but interject. So then that makes me go ahead and respond and start yelling at my nigga. But like in reality, if you would just shut up and let me finish my points, then I would just move on. Anyway, my name is Fanatiq. This piano back here, it ain't for show. It's literally how I make a living. I'm actually ridiculous. I'm sucking myself, but I'm actually OD. Like, I had perfect pitch, but I guess now it feels like it's kind of gone. But I mean, I can test perfect pitch, and it would look like I have it. Probably have the best working ear on Twitch. But I compose music, not just piano music, all different kinds of music. This song that I have that's coming out in 2 days, it's a drum and bass song, and I think you guys should check it out. You can find it. I'm gonna link it right here in PrimeCayes chat, right? And will it work like that? There we go. Yes. Click that link, and that's where my music is. You want to test my ear? Challenge me on it. I will be in the stream doing music, and you can always ask me, play whatever random song, and you'll see me whip out because I'm actually ridiculous. The song comes out on the 15th. There's a DistroKid pre-save. I already linked it earlier. Don't worry about it. But just you can listen to the song right there on my Bandcamp. You can listen to it before it actually comes out. You can find me under the name Fanatiq for all of my music. Fanatiq. And I'm probably I've got to spend some time with somebody, but immediately after that, I will probably visit the walk-on panel and yell at niggas there too, unless you let me finish my points.
Okay. It just like readily. Look, I find it endlessly funny. You say shut the hell up. You've got a way of doing it. I know. It's really funny. I am not that entertaining when I do that. It makes me laugh all the time. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Next we have Black American Made, right? Bam, who came through, right, with his beautiful Georgian accent. Bam, thank you for classing up the joint. So go ahead.
Yeah. Like I said, first topic was fun. Gave my arguments there. I'm sorry that I didn't want to give y'all some, like I said, some logically consistent argument that makes you feel good inside and oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. Could that work be done? Sure. Mad Lad tried. Fanatiq put a little bit of effort. I just wasn't. I'm not giving you that. You didn't earn that from me. I'm gonna say the word. You shouldn't. And this is, I'm Black American Made. I'm on YouTube and Twitch almost never, but it's going to change in 2022. Last thing I'm going to say is 2 things. Number 1, I would be very particular tonight on who you allow on open panel. This is not, I would be very hyper selective with that. And number 2, I'm curious because I know you're the hyper neutral moderator. How do you feel on the word?
Wow.
Wow, synergy.
Oh, I didn't get around to that because of all this, but quickly, right? I float closer to you, Bam, and that it's crazy, how white people get upset about not being able to say this one fucking word. They got a whole language of words, right, that they can say, but not this one word. Look, I for instance, New Salsa, he introduced something new to me. I wasn't aware of the grind type word, right? I had no idea.
I made that up.
Did you make that up?
I made that up. Right?
Oh, okay,
I said to protect you. I made up a random word.
Okay,
and I'm
okay,
Puerto Rican, tacky Puerto Rican.
Okay. Oh boy. So anyway, there are words that are offensive to my Latin brothers and sisters, to my Asian brothers and sisters, right? You know them, don't have to say them, but I never do. I never do, and I don't have the urge to do it. I don't get butt hurt that I don't have to do it, right?
You don't feel limited either, I bet. Your vocabulary is...
Yeah, right? And if I want to call an Asian person now or a Latin person, I can fucking do it every time. It never stops me, right? So, I don't know why white people get so fucking upset over this one fucking word. Just don't say it. Just don't say it. Just like you won't say all the other things to our our Asian brothers and sisters, right? Like, just respect them. Just don't do it. It's actually not that complicated. Just don't. Just don't. It's that simple.
Wait, did we co-opt this thing? Because it was about white people being offended by their word.
Oh yeah, that happened long ago.
No. Kay did that. That was Kay. She's the one that transferred it. Like, what about you guys in your N-word?
But it was the same. It turned it into the same topic of why it's allowed. That word's allowed, but the other word isn't. So.
No, I mean it's fine. I just find it funny because, like, you know, we were talking about like
We knew what we were
that,
talking
and
about.
anyway, all right, it's fine.
We're over, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's go to Scott, please. Thank you, Scott, for coming on. Again, I thought this was going to be an easy day for you. Your nemesis wasn't here, so.
Well, I'm Twitch's favorite heel on these debate panels. The right.
Wait,
hates
who's his
me, the left
nemesis?
hates me.
Counterpoints.
Not really, not counter.
Yeah, it is.
Well, as of currently, it's Joe Lewis. If you saw the Hippy Dippy video.
I did not. But go ahead.
That was
check it
pretty
out.
Or sodomies and rape.
Let's
Remember
go.
that.
But anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna summarize the points. I think there was enough to be said there. I feel like I laid out several logical arguments and tried to add nuance to the conversation and actually explain how we can break apart the data and better understand things. And instead, I just ended up offending people, which I think is even more hilarious when we talk about this N-word thing. Prime, where you're saying like white people are so offended that they can't say this word, but I don't even think most of the white people here care to say the word. It just seems you were probably more offended than any of us were.
I didn't say I was offended.
Our inability. Like I think it's usually the other way around. Trust, especially once you see the veiled threats that get offered when the discussion comes up. But that being said, Fanatiq and I have no hate towards each other. I don't have any hate towards him, and he may disagree now, but he let it slip. He said my N-word and not just N-word, which proves that at the end of the day, there's no hate here, that it's just blood sports and we're having a good time. And you can't take that back. So I love you, and I appreciate the Fanatiq. I appreciate you calling me my N-word. It felt good in my soul, and it took back all the times you said it in a hateful way. It filled me back up, and I'm gonna have a great night. I'm gonna sleep like a baby from that, because as a white guy, there's nothing better than hearing a black guy come at you and say my N-word. You're just like, oh my God. Beautiful. So I appreciate that. You can follow me on twitch.tv/Fabian Liberty if you want to get anarcho-capitalist views. And if you don't know what that is, come check us out and find out what that is. But basically, it's extreme libertarianism. Y'all have a great time. I always appreciate coming on PrimeCayes to get yelled at by everybody.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Next, our apparently not so dark Lord and Savior is on is here. Thank you. Well, a little less thank you than usual, Dooby, but you're here, so you can say your thing. Okay, all right, moving on. So, New Salsa, thank you for being here. You can hit up Dooby's server here. It's in the chat. New Salsa, go ahead.
Thank you, Prime, for hosting such an event and allowing me to fill in. Appreciate that very much so. With that being said, I would love for us to have a conversation, because I feel like a lot of the problems where we're talking past each other is the experiences from the particular places of the country that we exist in. I would love to have a conversation to sit down a little bit more, like, hey, where is it like where you grew up or where you're from? Me being in the South in Jacksonville, Florida, it was very Southern. I've met a lot of white people who got very upset at the cookie word, right? Simply because of like just the racial tensions and the culture and everything that we had there. So I think it'd be really fun to exchange ideas like, hey, where was it like where you were growing up, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, don't call anybody outside their name that they don't want to be called, especially when it's an immutable characteristic, right? It's like, I hope most of us can hop on that and agree with that. And yeah, that's much it. It's not even controversial.
Can I get my answer really quickly?
Oh.
I think I was fucking up before. Okay. So to be clear, this isn't me. I wasn't the little black kid earlier either. I'm also not this guy. But for moderation purposes, at that time, I was the little black kid, okay? This is much more akin to what I feel like right now after this terrible conversation. So if you guys, people in chat have been saying, you know, does Dooby have a Twitch channel? I don't. You can find me on my Discord server, discord.gg/politics, the best and biggest Discord server on the platform. And yeah, I'll probably be on the open panel.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Brad.
Next, last but not least, we have Kay. Kay, who I was so happy to have. She's come on the open panel before, and I was, thought she had stuff to say, and I was happy to have her stop by here. So thank you, Kay, for spending some of your time with all of us. It was very nice to have you around. I hope we have not scared you away. Yeah, Kay.
I don't know that I can handle Fanatiq screaming any longer. Like, I swear I can't. And I can't, like, if it was any other time of day, I'd probably be screaming back at you, but my fiance is sound asleep on the other wall, and if I wake him up, the internet's getting shut off, and he knows how to shut it off to the point that I can't turn it back on. So I'm not gonna fuck with the IT guy. I'm gonna let him sleep. But my name is Kipakov. I stream on Twitch when I feel like it. I haven't done it in forever. I just don't have the motivation, I guess you can call it, to press the go live button. When I do, I'm playing New World or Call of Duty Zombies or League of Legends. Not anything like this type of content. I normally just chill out and relax. PrimeCayes' first open panel I joined on was the first type of political podcast I've been on. So this is, I would say, my third at this point. So I'm just getting into this. So don't hate me too much.
Thank you so much. And I don't hate you. I very much appreciate you. So, okay, we are going to go on to the open walk-on panel right after this. If any of you here would like to join us, we would love to have you. But if not, that's okay. Thank you for spending your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your passion, your fucking toxicity with my community. I know they appreciate you so much as I do. Have a good one. Bye.